HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Now, the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hopefully your Tuesday morning will be one of a pleasurable drive-in, or maybe a cup of coffee at the table, or in your office as you're streaming on the app, or watching on YouTube early in the morning. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic. 6 a.m. sponsor is our friends at Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the pro. Today is the day. We talked about the fact that finally we got a bit of a clearing of the air from A.J. Brown calling in to sports radio to discuss stories that were made up about him. Well, now we have Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni meeting with the media today at the Combine about stories that aren't made up. We have a coach that has been declawed like he was a kitten at the SPCA before, the hiring of his coordinators. We have a general manager who now has absolute pressure on him to fix some of the things that were decisions that were made here in the recent past because they turned out to be horrible hiring decisions. So today at 1:30 and then at 1:45, Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman will have their chance to speak at the Combine, and there are incredible, important questions that need to be answered. I personally think I'm more interested to hear from Howie Roseman because I don't know what Nick Sirianni's going to tell me, but I know it's going to be word salad. It's just going to be a bunch of speaking in circles and bumper stickers and slogans. I can't do it. Now, Howie Roseman, I want to hear if there's any tipping of the hands of game plan of what this team's going to do. You do not have to speak at the Combine. In fact, only 26 franchises have representatives of their coaching staff and management there. So 6 teams decided to sit it out. So I'm interested to hear from everybody today, what are the most important questions that you need answered? Because the Philly media that covers the Eagles is going to be there. And are you more interested in hearing from Sirianni or Roseman behind the dais today, as they like to say? Bobby, good morning.
Good morning.
I'd love to have seen you there today. I'd love to hear a question or two for Howie Roseman from you, just as far as this offseason, because I don't know. He's skilled at not saying a lot, but he says a lot more than Nick Sirianni does.
Well, if I'm a reporter there, I look at it 2 different ways. 1, Sirianni closed the season. 2, Roseman looking ahead. So I want to hear from Nick Sirianni. Okay, what happened? What happened in those last 7 games? What was the biggest reason that you guys were such a different football team, that you hit the depths that you hit in those last 7 games? Like, what was the main factor there? And, expand on his answer. If it's word salad, find something that he said and jump on it, whatever. And then with Howie, I'm okay. Nick Sirianni just laid out that this, that, and the other. Where are you looking to address it? How are you looking to address it? Is it draft? Is it free agency? How far away do you think this team, specifically this defense, is from getting you back to another Super Bowl?
That's the if I was asking, I was trying to figure out this morning, what would be a question I'd want to ask? If I'm in attendance, I'd be saying to me, is this an all-in type of situation on fixing the defense because you've got an offense that appears to be championship caliber?
Well, John, we're always going to be all in, and we're always going to try to get the best players we can possible in the draft and in free agency.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's probably what you're going to get from a Howie, yeah. I'd be specific. It appears that you guys do not treasure the linebacker position at all, and it's really come back to bite you in the ass. Is that something that you're looking to maybe take a different stance on? Safety positions, corners. You have old corners. You have no safeties. How do you fix all of that at once? and, see how that goes.
You have one side of the ball that appears to be ready to compete for, I would say, top 5 caliber in the NFL. And you've got another that appears to be a giant black hole. I wonder how Nick Sirianni addresses that, Pat. How does Nick Sirianni share his thoughts on what his role is going to be in all this? Because, honestly, his last time behind a microphone, he embarrassed himself.
Yeah, I was going to say, he already answered that question. It didn't go well. I'm sure he's gotten probably some coaching up to do with how to explain exactly what he does, and I'm sure he's going to get up there, and before the question's even asked, he'll probably answer that and go into detail on what he does. Am I going to believe any of it? No. No, I'm not. I don't know what that guy does. I'm not probably going to know what that guy does. I don't think he does a lot. I think he's bailed out by good coordinators, and I think he's a rah-rah guy who buys T-shirts with his players' faces on it. That's it. And if the locker room isn't good, then he clearly failed at his job.
I think that the story will be today more about – I think the guy more under the gun, though, is Howie. Because as Bob always puts it out there, it's the offseason now. And this is where you put the ball clearly in the hands of the general manager to make the moves to correct what was wrong about the roster. The Nick Sirianni story, though very much an interesting one to follow, this isn't his time. I almost don't understand why a coach talks to the media at the Combine.
Yeah, I don't know either. He's probably going in with the anticipation of, we're going to talk about the draft guys. And maybe he might come out and say, look, guys, I want to talk about just, moving forward or whatever. But I'm not having that. I need to wrap up that season and find out of all the turmoil that's gone on and all of this. Have you heard from Jason Kelce? Is he going to be back? Was Jalen Hurts distracted last year? All of those things you want to get final answers to. Nick Sirianni is the one I go to for the on-the-field discussion, and maybe even set up for Howie Roseman if he's next. Say to Nick Sirianni, what with this defense, what that looked horrible at the end of the year. Is our defensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, is that the end-all, be-all fix-it, or do you need better players? And if he says, we need some players, well, then you take it to Howie. Hey, even Nick Sirianni says you need some players. Are you going to change your attitude on linebackers, on corners, on safeties? So there's a lot of answers, to be had. Hopefully they get out there, the questions get out there in a short, would you say 15 minutes they each are doing?
Yeah, they're doing 15 minutes each. 1:30 today and 1:45. So March 13th. So right around the corner, we're going to get to free agency. It's right there. And it's one of the other questions, and you brought it up, that would be my secondary question. When are you going to hear from Jason Kelce? Because nobody can tell me that $15 million doesn't matter when you're talking about a free agency period. Because this is a team that obviously has attacked free agency before. You have major holes, so you probably don't want to be shopping in the, as I depict with Pat, the DVD bin at the Big Lots. You want to go shopping for people who are going to be more potential answers. And knowing about Jason Kelce gives you $15 million of wiggle room because you've drafted someone to take his position. So you have somebody already in place. There's a succession plan. Where's the $15 million going to go? That's what I'd want to know. And I'd want to know it before free agency. There's 2 weeks away. There should be enough time for someone to decide, are you coming back or not? And I know it's not popular because everybody just we love on Jason Kelce. We love Jason Kelce. Everybody would love to see him, if he wants to be back, he can be back, whatever. I'm fine either way, but I need an answer.
Yeah, I'm sure they gave him a deadline. I don't think they were like, hey, Jason, you let us know when you let us know. No, it's a business. Everybody loves Jason Kelce. Might be one of the best centers in football still. Who wouldn't want to have him back if that is the case? Any position, you tell me, you can have a top 2 or 3 guy at that position. Yeah, I'll take him. So, sure, I'm sure they want him back. I'm sure they also left it up to Kelce. Whatever you want to do, let us know. But, yeah, it is a business. There is a time frame, and I'm sure that's coming up pretty soon.
You feel like the clock's ticking on it, Pat, or not?
I don't. I don't. Yeah, I think that they'd be able to find the money, at least the cap room, in order to bring him back at whatever price.
Oh, I don't think money's a problem.
No, I think they can do it.
But I'm saying, I don't think Jason Kelce not making a decision is really going to hold them up necessarily in terms of free agency. Like, I don't think one of their free agent targets is going to be a right guard, which would be the hole they'd have to fill. You know, they did draft Tyler Steen 3rd round, so theoretically you'd slide him in there. But I don't look at it like that's, man, like we need Jason Kelce back or else we don't know who's playing center. Like, you know who's playing center. It's Cam Jurgens. So I don't look at money being an issue, and I don't look at his decision-making being an issue. And I'm probably in the minority with that because I think a lot of people are going to agree with you guys where they need an answer. You don't want to be held up because it is a lot.
You don't think $15 million, though, allows you to attack free agency differently?
I don't.
I mean, as far as your approach.
Not really. And it's only just because if, let's say, they spend most of their money and they only have $5 million cap-wise, like, they'll restructure a couple contracts and find the money. I don't worry about that with them. So I don't look at it like that. But Jeffrey Lurie, a guy who's been known to cut a check here and there for bonus money in order to keep cap hits low. I mean, if there's anybody you're going to cut a check for, it's going to be Jason Kelce. So I don't view it like that.
Yeah, I just want answers about this team, and I think it's one of the things that Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni owes this fan base. Honestly, after that kind of collapse, you owe some real answers. Now, do I want them to lay their cards on the table and play their whole draft game plan? Absolutely not. Like I'm not about my general manager saying, oh, yeah, well, we want corner in the first round. I want them holding that more. Talk about position groups that are obviously of interest to you and keep it. I think you can keep it general when talking about
I don't
why
think
you're
they're going
there.
to tell you who they're going to draft.
No, don't play that. Don't even play. I don't even want to know position or what is the most critical position. I do want to know who what you're looking at, position groups you're looking at, what you're most interested in, and I want to know too is Vic Fangio with them? Like talk about the input of whether Vic Fangio is there helping them evaluate people or if they're leaving that to the scouts. And Vic gives them a shopping list of things I'm interested in, and then you just bring that there. So, and maybe from Nick Sirianni, what do you want to do with the, I guarantee you, with the 30 guys they can interview or whatever, we set up a Papa Shot in the hotel room, and I'm going to compete with them because I want to see how they can compete. If I hear any of that today, I will throw up in my mouth. Enough of that. Enough of the nonsense of, we compete. I want to see rock, paper, scissors. We'll have a Papa Shot contest.
Do you think you're going to come in here tomorrow and be satisfied with what they said?
I think you could.
I'm telling you, no, I will not be satisfied.
I don't
No,
expect
no
anything. No, you can ask,
I'm
but you ain't going to
pissed.
get
I'm
anything.
still-
I don't know what you want, but you ain't getting it.
I'm still pissed off how that
No, but
season ended.
you don't want to hear that though, Pat.
No, I don't.
I
No.
set up a Papa Shot in the hotel room so we could compete because I want to see these guys compete.
I don't want to hear it, but in a way, I kind of expect something like that because I just don't have faith in what this guy does. No story that has come out since the season has ended has gotten me to back off my what is it you do here, question that I've been asking since November. At first it was an impure thought, then that impure thought got louder and louder, and now I'm screaming it from the heavens like, dude, what do you do here? And every single story that comes out about this team, it leaves you scratching your head as to how he's back. So, no, I wouldn't expect, a detailed synopsis of what went down. I think he's playing rock'em sock'em robots with 21-year-olds to see, about their competitive nature.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, I always was the red.
I mean, the red's the elite one. Yeah, it's a power color.
I always wanted to be the red.
Yeah, it's a power color.
Yeah, always wanted to be the red. Enjoyed. You didn't have rock'em sock'em, Bob?
We didn't have toys.
We did. It broke quickly, I think.
You and your brother knocking it around.
Yeah, we hit him pretty hard. It left you with a sore at the bottom of your hand because you were hitting it so hard all the time, right? Was that it, or is that something else?
No, rock'em sock'em robot.
Yeah.
It was, that was a fun game.
That was my mom's go-to, the childhood game that you never got but you always wanted.
That's the one she wanted.
That was my mom's, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted.
And she got her ass whooped when she finally got it, and she regretted that decision.
I just wanted Hot Wheels,
Good for you.
and instead Betty got me Johnny Lightnings.
They're just as good.
No, they weren't.
They
were
like just as good.
No, they were like it's like you're
What
buying
is Johnny Lightning?
Johnny Lightning was the knockoff Hot Wheels.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
could get them for like $3 for $1 at Two Guys compared to the Hot Wheels, which were more the die-cast metal, better. The Johnny Lightning.
I never got into those. Are little cars you're talking
little
about.
cars.
I never got into them at all. Racetracks, cars. I didn't.
I did.
know
I
anything.
I had a vinyl bag where I could put my cars into little like slots, like little garage spots, and I would carry that with me. And my parents would be like, "Okay, that'll get him to shut up."
Oh, Jack has
He'll
like a
play with
little
that.
carrier that he has.
I've seen him with
all
that.
all his cars and stuff. Yeah.
Hey, if you want to share a thought on this, first of all, do you think you're going to get any answers today out of Nick Sirianni or Howie Roseman? And if I let you ask a question, what would it be? Look, we can text guys who are going to be there in attendance. Maybe they'll ask your question. 610-632-0975. And one game up on a danger zone. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Busy day. I'm Pat Egan. The Sports Update is brought to you by the BetParks app. When you open the BetParks app, you're in the zone.
The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I still find it strange that the 6 teams are not going to the Combine. Sent no coaching staff or no members of their front office.
I kind of like it.
6.
Are we sure it's none?
It's sent none. No coaching staff, no front office.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
You do. Why?
Yeah, I think the combine is the most pointless thing in the world.
Okay.
I don't think you're getting anything from the combine that you're going to actually take something from. I think the combine, there's a really good documentary, and it might still be on Netflix, called 2 Days in April, and it followed 4 draft prospects in the 06 draft. None of them big. The biggest guy went in the 3rd round. And it went into the mentality of, we now have to become, track stars in order to bolster our stock at the combine. I put 0 stock at all into the individual drills. I put a little bit more stock into the interview process. But
Well,
then again,
you don't get to do that with 30. You get 30 candidates. You would have that opportunity to do that if you were there.
yeah, that's the only thing I put stock into. But then again, you've got stories like Gronk, who said that was the worst interview I ever did with the Patriots, and they drafted me. I came in hungover. I was sleeping on the floor. So, even that, I go, do I really care about the interview process? I'm more of a check the tape. If it looks like they can play on tape, they can probably play on Sundays. But I've never put any stock into the combine.
I wonder, since I get easily fooled by people, that if I would get anything out of it. Like if
I
go
would
in
keep
there,
you far away if you were part of the team. Yeah.
you
Well,
would-
think about combine wonders in the past. More times than not, the combine wonder ends up busting than being a good player.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking about that the measurables as much, because we talked about this yesterday when you were convalescing, Pat. The idea of it's more about all the stuff that the stat geeks like. They want to know vertical leap, and they want to know 40 time, and they want to know all those things. I want to look somebody in the eye and find out what kind of a player they are. I put much more trust into the game tape that they hopefully played at a credible school, and I've got 2 years or 3 years of game tape that I could look at.
I would put I put the majority of my stock into game tape, and then I'd put it into my whatever you want to call it, the big doms of the world that have to do deep dives into players. And a player can tell me, I love football,
Right.
but then I go to their coaches and they're like, Friday nights he's going out, and Saturday nights he's going out, and Sunday nights he's going out, and he likes football. He doesn't love football. I'm sure every single draft prospect is going to tell you they love football.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think it's ridiculous the teams aren't showing up.
6.
I mean,
6 are not represented this year.
I can watch film on a guy. I still want eyes on him. I want to see him up close and personal. I want to talk to him. All of those things.
Now, you can
I
do that at
agree
pro
that
days.
film-
you
Yeah,
can do that still at pro days.
I agree that film is, your end-all, be-all, and I don't need to see kind of shuttles. I don't have to see all that. But, eye test is huge to me. And I want to see that also. If there's something that really, really turns me off about a player that I was like, oh, I didn't see that before. Or the other way, something that goes really well that you say, wow, he's got that also. Yeah, I can't believe 6 teams aren't going to be there. That's amazing.
It's the largest amount that has ever skipped. It's a number that has grown, though. And as Pat's saying, he loves it. He goes to see more teams rejected. I mean, they're getting towards around a quarter of the league not even participating in it, which just seems a little strange. So I bring it to an interview question because there was something yesterday that I heard from Russell Wilson that made me laugh a little bit. Russell Wilson is trying to find a new team because he's been dumped by Sean Payton and the Broncos. He's going to be a June 1st, cut type of situation. He says, and I quote him, "I want to win 2 of the next 5 Super Bowls." What does that mean? Who says that
What a
answer?
weird goal.
Yeah.
He goes, "I
that
want to
is
win 2.
strange.
I want to win 2 of the next 5 Super Bowls." Now, the only thing I could think of when he gave that answer was that he was saying it because I want a team that knows that that is building. That I'm willing to go to a team that's not going to win the Super Bowl this year, or maybe not win the Super Bowl next year, but I'm willing to build with them. So he's trying to keep his options open. It was the weirdest answer I've ever heard, though. Yeah, I'd like to win 2 of the next 5 Super Bowls.
Is he saying that he's only got a 5-year window, I guess?
I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But I want to win 2 of the next 5, not 5 of the next 5, or 4 of the next 5. He wants to win 2. It's the strange. He is the strangest cat.
He is a weird bird. Yeah, there's no question about that.
It's just.
I don't know where you pull that out of. I want to win 2 of the next 5. Like, what?
I want to win 2 of the next 5.
Yeah. Well, let me know what years you want to win it, and I'll make sure that we.
We'll think about
we
sign you that year. It's just weird.
I'll tell you, the best thing that happened to this organization might be the fact that Russell Wilson did not want to come to Philly.
Absolutely, because you know how we would have gotten that deal done.
Well, you look at the trickle down of what you were able to do with the draft picks that was reportedly offered up. I mean, it's Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, A.J. Brown. Like, it's studs. So,
it's crazy.
But, yeah, he's a weird dude.
He's just
weird.
really
Like, that's
strange.
bizarre.
Isn't that a weird answer?
Yeah, very weird. And it's probably, like, I don't know if we look at that necessarily as let's just say if, like, I don't know, Brock Purdy had said that. I don't think we look at it the same way, but because Russell Wilson has this aura about him that he's so
goofy,
uncomfortable. Yeah, it's like, dude, you're just 2 out of 5. That's as Bob said. Let me know which ones, and we'll try to facilitate that for you.
We'll sign you that year. So the Sixers are back in action tonight. Flyers are back in action too. Sixers are facing the Celtics in Boston. Now, since last night's Heat victory, just 1 game up on the play-in tourney. The descent into madness is about to begin, and I really do believe it's madness because once you get into the play-in tournament, even though we have seen since the play-in tournament's inception, we have seen the Lakers make it to the Western Conference Finals. We have seen the Heat make it to the NBA Finals. So it doesn't mean that you're not going someplace. It doesn't mean that you don't have a shot. But to me, staying above that play-in tournament is a goal that I had that I thought, okay, this is one they're going to be able to carry off. They're only 1.5 games up on having a potential home game in the play-in tournament, as they are they're only 1.5 games out of the 8th seed. This is getting really dicey. I do not believe, by the way, that they are slipping past the Bulls or past the Hawks, especially without Trae Young. So missing the playoffs is not an option. It's not happening. They're 8 games up on the Hawks. They're not and the Hawks are without Trae Young. That's gonna sink them probably.
Yeah.
So you're not doing that.
No, they're probably going to make the play-in tournament.
Wow.
And tonight could be a back-breaking game. They're going to go into Boston and just get steamrolled tonight, probably. Against a team that is just an organization, I should say, that is just always there, always good, always plays the right way, has great, great players. And the Sixers are going in there not knowing who they are. Like we talked about yesterday, they have no identity right now, none. And Keith Pompey wrote a story in today that they don't know who they are, and we laid it out yesterday. You have 3 new guys coming in here that now are a part of your top 8 or 9 players. You're missing your best player. You're getting guys back from injury that haven't been here in a long time. You can't outscore teams. You can't defend teams. You're not very good at rebounding. You're not good at getting back on defense. You're not faster than other teams. You're not a better shooter than other teams. There's no identity that they can grasp onto to say, okay, while Joel Embiid's not here, this is what we have to do. They're trying. Nick Nurse is trying, and he's trying to figure out lineups still because guys have been hurt, and you have new guys in. But, you got Boston out there, and you have Dallas out there, and you've got, other teams out there that are really playing for something for the rest of the year. They're going to struggle. It's going to be a play-in tournament team. It just is. That's who they're going to be, I feel. And, unless you get Joel Embiid back for a significant amount of games where maybe you can boost your, seeding, but I just don't see that happening. I think they're destined to be a play-in tournament team.
I know you don't watch the pregame shows. You're not a big fan of the pregame shows. Sunday afternoon, they had that half-hour long one with Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, and Kendrick Perkins. And Kendrick Perkins was very defiant, Pat, about shut down Joel Embiid. He's like, you shut him down. You let him recover. If this team falls to the play-in tournament, Shut him down. What are you doing? Why are you rushing him back for a team that is not going to win a championship this year?
It's funny because I do like Perk, but he was one of the guys that was saying that Joel Embiid needed to play against Jokic. And
absolutely,
man, how that's changed. But yeah, I tend to agree with him. I mean, am I expecting a play-in tournament team to win the NBA Finals? No. If this wasn't the Sixers and we were having an unbiased look at any other team, if this was the Knicks, where you'd be scared of a play-in team? No. So I tend to agree because I keep going back to when he finally does come back, you're likely not getting the 70-point Joel Embiid. You're probably getting a guy on a somewhat minutes restriction. So you're basically back to what we've been dealing with for the last, 5, 6, 7 years in the playoffs.
Hampered Embiid come spring.
I don't need that. Just this ain't the year. We just need to accept it. This isn't the year. And it sucks. It pains me to say it, but it's not. A play-in tournament team, they're not going to have this magical run. I don't want to fall into the same trap that Philadelphia fell into when the Sixers entered the bubble and we all convinced ourselves that Brett Brown and some bunka came out with Shake Milton as the one, and that was going to propel them to the NBA Finals. It's not going to happen.
Shake
and bake.
Shakeism.
Yeah, it really didn't.
You look at the Sixers schedule, and
brutal.
of the next 9 games, they may win 2, maybe, and then soon after that, you have a West Coast trip at Phoenix, at LA, at Sacramento. You come home for 1 game and you go back on the road for 3 out of the next 4. This schedule is not good for them.
No.
We talked about it right away. This is going to be really hard.
I'm wondering last night, I was doing some math, and I was wondering if they can get to 500. They're 9 games over 500, but just as you're pointing out, Bob, at Dallas, back-to-back at the Knicks coming up in a couple weeks. And then at Milwaukee on the back end of that.
Yep.
I mean, it's ugly. With games, as you say, that West Coast swing, Clippers, Lakers, Phoenix, Sacramento. Are you kidding me?
And then
that is a nasty schedule.
Yeah, you have a 10 o'clock, our time, Monday night game against Sacramento to finish that road trip. You have to come all the way back east and play Wednesday night and then go back on the road. It's not favorable at all. And look, we're not being doom and gloom here. It's just the reality of it. I'm sorry. To me, they're just destined to be a play-in team. And unless you have Embiid back, that's probably where it's going to end.
Now, the Stephen A. Smith's argument in return to Kendrick Perkins was you have to squeeze every bit of juice you can out of Joel Embiid while you got him because you never know when he's going to be healthy. He's always hurt.
But he's not.
He said, so why he says, so if the doctors say he's ready to play, Stephen A. was like, Perk, you got to play him. And you got to play him because you never know when this guy's going to be healthy. He's not dependable.
The doctors are paid by the team. The team wants him to play. But I don't think that he'll be fully healthy.
There are independent doctors. It's funny you say that, Pat. Good point. But there are independent doctors also. There is medical members that are paid by the team, but there are independent doctors also as far as it doesn't matter to me whether he gets back and plays or not. Okay. I'm going to give you the medical. No, it's a great point that you make. And I just talked to somebody about that like a week or so ago. So there's that. I kind of side, I think, with Stephen A. on this, that you only have so many years. And with the way this team is built now, it looks like Daryl Morey built it for this year. You don't go out and get a Buddy Hield and a Kyle Lowry and make the moves that he made unless you thought Joel Embiid was coming back. I don't think. But I understand Kendrick Perkins is saying, I think this is part of his reasoning, you can sign a whole bunch of new players next year. So keep him out this year. His feeling might be you're not going to win with a Buddy Hield and a Nick Batum and those guys around Joel Embiid. Let him rest this year, bring him back full next year, and get your asses moving in this offseason.
The weird thing is Kendrick Perkins says he can, and I quote him from, because I wrote the note down when he said it. He goes, he can take the time off, be fully healthy, lose some weight, he said. Lose some weight.
I don't think that's the issue.
Joel Embiid is in the best shape of his career, is he not?
I don't think that's the issue. I do think one of the issues, though, is let's say he does come back. Doctors say he's healthy. Team doctors, independent doctors, everyone goes, you're good to go. There still is a mental hurdle, though, that he's going to have to get over whether he's not he's healthy. And to me, like that's a big part of this is the mental, jumping and landing and running and, oh, God, I just felt something in my knee. Was that it again? No, it wasn't. It was just something else. You know what I mean? Like there's that mental hurdle you got to get over. And because of that, I think it affects his game. And I don't see the point of it, honestly. Like I don't see the benefit of throwing him out there as a playing team to do what? Like this isn't.
And we're not trying to be.
Oh no, I'm not. This isn't. It's the reality. This isn't 0-1. Right. Iverson's not dragging people to the final. By the way, and even when Iverson quote dragged people to the finals, he was dragging the defensive player of the year, the sixth man of the year, and the coach of the year. Like I mean, we look at it like he dragged people to the finals, but like Joel Embiid, I don't know what Joel Embiid I'm getting, and he's a 7 seed, not the number 1 seed, which was the 0-1 Sixers. So.
If he's the 7 seed, he's lucky right now, honestly.
Yeah.
They could fall below that, which is really, really crazy. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's can you compare it to kind of the Eagles season? You had such high aspirations, such high hopes, and there it goes.
Oh, it is.
But
it's a different reason.
Yeah, it's
like I'm not
absolutely.
blaming Nick Nurse. I don't think anybody's going to be blaming Nick Nurse for
it's just
collapse.
I mean, you're talking about late. What month is this? February.
February.
Late February, and you're still looking to figure out who's playing where and who's available to play, and is your best player going to be available to play, and trying to find rotations of new guys that just got in. It's just the Sixers all over again. Like it just seems like we're going down this same avenue again. And it sucks.
G. Simpson has a interesting email to me this morning. And
say, G?
I don't know what G's name is, but he says, G goes, I'm thinking it's a guy. He said, I've listened to your show for too long, but the worst part is everyone calls him Howie. Howie will do this. Howie's great at that, like they actually know him. He says, that no one should be on a first-name basis. Show him some respect.
Who emailed you this?
G. Simpson.
All right, thank you for your email, Mr. Simpson.
But I mean,
I don't know him, so I have to say Mr. Simpson.
Do you think it's odd to?
No, I mean I think with sometimes I mean no, not
like
really.
It's Howie.
Like,
I mean,
we're not allowed to call him by his first name.
Yeah, like that's
Dave. Well, he goes, but even callers reference him as he goes. Everybody that's reference him. He goes, show the man some respect.
Well,
I'm like, what?
I think one of the reasons they call him Howie is and not Howie Roseman. Is there's only one Howie.
He's distinct.
Exactly, in Philadelphia sports. Whereas if you say Dave, you might go a couple different areas. So you go Dave Dombrowski. If you go
you could
like,
say Nick, could be Nick Nurse, Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, like you just, I mean, normally, yes, it is. I actually think it's a positive that he's on a first.
Yeah,
he's the same. He's like Madonna.
He's a Cher.
Yes.
He's a signature talent. Prince.
Yes, turn back time.
Howie's right there. I mean, he's right there. It's very interesting. But that was just a strange G. Simpson. That was a strange, and I'm not saying it. Look, maybe he's right. Maybe we should be.
No, he's not. It's okay. He can be wrong. He's wrong. We call him Howie. That's his name. What the hell are you talking about? What's he, a god? His name's Howie. If I have a question for him and he's standing out there, I'm going to say, hey, Howie, hello, Mr. Roseman, may I please get a question? What are you talking about?
I can't wait for G. Simpson's email to Mr. Cooney that says, I just switched to WOGL.
I know Andy
what
Reid.
What the holy hell's going on?
I know
here,
Andy
Pat?
Reid was called Big Red by people.
Yeah.
Or Andy. Like people did not call Andy Reid every single time. Just a strange little look, I wanted to give him his
you don't want to know what I call Tobias Harris.
Man.
You don't want to know.
I can only imagine.
FCC
Hey, we
regulations.
got to throw congratulations out to Roman Catholic last night.
What an
Huge
awesome
How
ending,
awesome
dude.
was that?
What a
That was
great
nuts.
ending to that game. That's
oh my
amazing.
God! And the girls' game went into double overtime. Also, boys' game. You thought you had a game winner with 9 seconds to go. Roman comes down, scores at the buzzer. What a night at the Palestra.
That's such a cool moment for that kid.
It is, and we talked about it last week about is basketball dying. We were talking more on the college basketball level, and and we brought it up. I think I said, well, you had the Catholic League semifinals last night at the Palestra. This was last week, and it was sold out. I don't think basketball is dead in Philadelphia at all. You know, like the game of basketball is still alive and well. And, you know, good on all those kids that played yesterday. All 4 teams, that's phenomenal basketball. You did the city well.
Bob wants to know for you Phillies fans, what would a signing do for you? And where would a signing put them? John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Shipping up to Boston. I'm Fatty.
Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We appreciate you being a part of the show, and those who stream all day long, love you for that. Those who watch on YouTube in the mornings, good morning. Hopefully you're having a great day, and we appreciate the more time you spend with the Fanatic every day, the better. Andrew Salchunas back in middays, and, of course, the best show ever today. We'll be reacting to Howie Roseman speaking at 1:45, Nick Sirianni speaking at 1:30. I do not know whether we are carrying that live yet, but we will, of course, fill you in when we get that news. So they'll both be speaking today. Can't wait to hear.
There might not be news, John. There just might not be any news.
And you're like, I said to my bride, I said, Bob doesn't want me interviewing people at the combines. She's like, she goes, oh, they'd fool you. They'd fool you. She's very much understands her husband. She loves her husband, but she understands that I get fooled by people very often.
I was more the players, like you watching a player and go, oh, my God, he's so fast, we got to sign him.
Got to sign him.
Yeah.
That's another one. She doesn't want me doing the interview. She'd be like, no, you'd get fooled. Somebody'd come in there and you'd be like, man, that kid's like the best kid ever.
Is that's not a bad outlook to have,
Yeah,
though?
it's terrible.
No, you said that to me before, and I don't think
It's not. Yeah, that's a good thing.
It's a positive way.
Yes.
I think
maybe
I have
you
the
trust
worst.
too much.
I'm too trusting.
Yeah, but that's once again, I don't look at that as a negative. You're looking at it like everybody is good and everyone has something to bring to the table, and what they tell you at to your face is the truth. Like that's an admirable quality. That's not a bad thing.
Now, my wife is so much smarter than me, though, Pat, with people, because she doesn't believe anything until it's proven to her. She's the doubting Thomas. She wants to judge by action. She wants to judge by.
Depends on the person for me.
I tend to get fooled a lot. So I mean, it's just.
You got fooled by us?
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. I tend to be kind of like you. I trust until you give me a reason not to trust. Until I can find, we all know that.
Too many cracks.
Yeah.
But you don't hold a grudge. Like you're somebody, like Bob, you're somebody that like if you don't like that person, there's probably a problem with that person.
There's not many,
because you like everybody. Like you get along with everybody. You usually speak highly of people. So when you come in and if a name gets brought up and you go like, yeah, I don't really jive with that person,
the radar goes up.
My radar goes off. Devon was the same way, where like you guys are two easygoing people that like if you don't like somebody, there's an issue with that person.
Something probably came to it.
I was asked not long ago about something, like, why do you hate such and such? And I said, I don't hate anybody unless they do something to my family or something like that. I really don't. There obviously there's people in the world that you could do without. My wife sees it right away. If there's somebody in a group that I don't really know and I'm turned off by them,
she can tell by your behavior.
She'll just look at my face and go, oh, God. And I don't do anything to embarrass that person or embarrass myself, but she just knows when I'm out. And that's what I do. If there's somebody that doesn't do it for me, they're just out. That's all. I don't, look to start anything.
I think of organizations, though, how valuable that skill set is. Like at a combine when they're doing 30 interviews with potential draftees. Somebody having that skill set to be able to decipher and to look through someone and go, what really matters in an interview? What really matters in a question? What really matters?
Oh, I would hire somebody from like a retired FBI guy who's one of those human lie detector people.
Most of them, by the way.
I'd hire those guys to sit in the meeting and tell me what was a lie and what wasn't.
By the way, a lot of teams, Pat, do have someone of former law enforcement background or otherwise that does that.
Yeah, I would. Now, I mean, that must be a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways for that person, but, you put that skill to some use in that situation and tell me if the pupils are dilated or not.
I told you, my cousin Joe does he's a lie detector conductor.
Uh-huh.
So he brings the lie detector machine and we'll hook people up and when they want to do it.
Is that a night at the Kincaid house?
In the counties, no.
Hey, come on over. We're going to hook you up to a lie detector.
Cousin Joe's got it out. He's got the lie detector out. But I always wonder, can he look at somebody and just, from doing that for so long, and know without looking at the meter by, like, are they sweating? Are they – because all that plays into the lie detector.
Sure.
Are you sweating? Are you not making eye contact with somebody? Are you those type of things? Do you look up is one of the lie things.
Oh, my
look up?
wife all the time. This is the most. It's nothing egregious, but if I say what's wrong, nothing, and people
then
can't see me,
immediately.
she'll look away from me. Her eyes will dart away from me and say nothing, and I catch her. I say, "Look at me."
Oh, then
and
you go.
she can't look at me because she can't lie.
There you go. See.
So I said, just tell me what's wrong. Don't say nothing and look away.
That's what we need. Cooney at the combine would be able to help out. By the way, great coverage last night. More tonight from the combine. Right after the best show ever. You got Connor and Tom and Bill Colarulo jumping on in, and Andrew DiCecco reporting live from Indianapolis too. So be a part of that. As the 7 o'clock hour begins, it's brought to you by the Bet Park Sportsbook app and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app. You'll love it. Pennsylvania, Jersey, Ohio, and Maryland. Check it on out. I love the Bet Parks app. Where Bob's looking ahead to the Phillies, and he's wondering about a potential signing.
Well, it's funny. I don't know about you guys, and Pat, I haven't had a chance to talk to you at all about this. John, we may have mentioned it a little bit. After this weekend of Phillies action, they win 14-13, and then they have a 4-0 game where they're no-hitting the Yankees through 8, and you see some good signs, and Kyle Schwarber's hitting leadoff, and Trey Turner hitting fourth, and Trey Turner's hitting leadoff, and Aaron Nola has a good outing. You know, people are like, baseball's back. The Phillies look good. All right, I think our expectations are what they are. Battling the Braves for the division, such and such amount of wins. What if they signed Jordan Montgomery? What if they signed Blake Snell? Where do you go, Pat? Because, John, we talked about it a little yesterday, so I'll go to Pat first. Where do you go if one of those things happens? Is it like oh, my God, this is through the roof, they're really going for it, now they have a legit chance? Or is it just, okay, cool, we'll see how that plays out?
I mean, I think they already have a legit chance. Baseball is such a weird sport. Everybody's crowned the Dodgers for good reason.
Yeah.
Early in the season. I mean, their offseason was incredible. But baseball's weird, and weird things happen. So I think they already have a chance. But I look at this signing of a Montgomery or a Snell as a sign of like they're really committed to winning the division and not just
wild card,
yeah, like not just settling on the wild card, because the Braves are still a really, really, really good team, and that's probably the team you're battling out to the division for. So you add in one of those guys to your rotation. I don't know what it means for Christopher Sanchez, but in the moment, I don't really care.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if we're worried about Christopher Sanchez's feelings or whatever, I think we're in the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, Ranger Suarez gets bumped down to a number 4. Taijuan Walker goes down to a number 5.
He'd be the best 5 in the National League.
He'd be one of them. I mean, he'd be an overpaid 5, but he'd be a 5 nonetheless. You don't really care about it, though, because you're signing one of these guys to a 1 or 2 year deal. So it makes your rotation a lot better, makes your team a lot better. It's a luxury, though.
Okay, there you go. Because by your response, you're not over the hill. This is awesome. It's more of a, okay.
I'm probably an okay, because at this point I'm accepted the fact that if it happens, it's a 1 or 2 year deal. And by 2 years, I mean probably that second year is an option. So I'm not like running out and getting a jersey and all that, but it definitely makes your team better. And I've said it before, every day that goes by that one of those guys isn't signed, I do think that it's better than chance that they end up coming to Philly, one of them. I think Montgomery more than Snell, but it makes your team a lot better.
I got to tell you, I think I'd be a lot more happy than Pat.
I'd be much happier. In fact, Pat, yesterday, I said it again, and as you were getting better, I said it yesterday to Brendan Gunn. If they signed Snell or they brought in Montgomery, I'm picking them to win the division. I think it's the difference between potentially finishing first and second. And I still think the team is currently constituted. We did it yesterday with the 2 rotations. I think the Phillies could win the division right now as currently constituted. Are they better than a 50% pick? Nah. No, not at all. But would it shock me if they won the division? No. But if you give me Snell or you give me Montgomery, I'm picking them to win the division.
I probably would too. The only thing that gives me pause with the Braves are like the Miami Heat, where the Miami Heat would always find some dude from like Lowe's Home and Garden Center, and they throw him in the starting lineup, and you're like, where did they find this guy? Why is he contributing? And the Braves are very similar, where their entire team could get injured, and they find randos that they just happen to find playing on a sandlot field with Benny the Jet Rodriguez. They signed him to a deal, and next thing you know,
they signed him to an 11-year deal, right?
It's nuts. So they always have somebody in the pipeline that's willing to come in and contribute. So I do worry about who's that guy this year for the Braves that I'm going to end up hating. But right now, yeah, I think they're going to go toe-to-toe with the Braves. If they end up getting one of those two guys, I would also pick them to win the division. But in previous years, I felt like the Braves were the team that you were really battling it out with for the NL crown. This year, that team is not in the NL East. It's the Dodgers. So while I'd be pumped about winning the NL East, I'd still be worried about the monster that is the Dodgers out west. And I'm going to be interested to see how their team actually does this year. And I'm sure they'll do great. But that, I guess, is my concern level, and that's my pause of getting excited. Is okay, they're a much better team, but is it good enough? Is it good enough to get over the hump? And I don't think it is, as I sit here in February, but as I said to start the segment, baseball is such a weird sport, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Am I wrong for being more excited about this season than last?
No. I don't think you are.
So.
I don't think you are.
So.
I think this team, because to me, Bob, I know now more about Bryson Stott. I know now more that Alec Boehm can play a competent, better than competent level of defense. I know there are questions that were answered last year despite the loss in the NLCS. There's things that give me more confidence. I believe much more this year in Ranger Suarez than I did even last year. Ricky Batalico told us he was all in on Ranger. I saw another year of Ranger going, okay, he is calm, cool, and collected. He can get the job done. So many questions. Sanchez last year, for that matter, answered questions with a really, really solid back end of the rotation guy. There were so many questions answered. I feel so much better about the team going into this year. There's no, like, to me, I see no way they're not a playoff team. Like, I don't see any possibility that there isn't Red October. It's just a matter of seeding.
Where were we last year?
All those questions.
Like, yeah, and you also lost Reese Hoskins to the ACL in spring training, right?
Boehm, we were talking about how much of a butcher he was as far as his defense. Remember how bad?
Yeah, but we had to have positives because they just came off a World Series, right? We weren't all negative
The
last
positive
year.
was Trey Turner.
We signed Trey Turner.
Yeah,
that was the biggest positive.
And
You signed Trey Turner.
We didn't know if Stott was going to continue to ascend to being the player that many think he is. Schwarber backed up 1 year with another monster year. Castellanos showed that his second year in Philadelphia, he was far more comfortable. So to me, I feel so much more confident about this year's club because I think that we got a bunch of answers last year that worked in their favor.
Interesting, yeah, because I really am excited about this team this year.
I am too. I really am.
And the Whit Merrifield signing, I think, was really good as an understated signing.
Yes.
I do think that was good. Like, sometimes when you have a good team, it's little things that make you better a lot of times. You have the stars. You're not a really good team because you don't have stars, good pitching, all that. It's kind of the underlying little stuff that you need. And I thought his signing was really good. I agree with you, Pat, the longer this goes on. Now, why do you want Montgomery more than Snell?
Mainly because Snell is kind of like another Aaron Nola, where some years he's really good and some years he's really, really bad.
Okay.
That worries me. Montgomery's been consistently really good for last 3 or 4 years now. I just think he overplayed his hand in the market, and now he's stuck without a team. But I like him a little bit better than Snell. Snell pitched in a pitcher's ballpark last year in San Diego. I think that helped him tremendously. Montgomery's pitched in a bandbox in Yankee Stadium before, and he's had success there. So I just think Montgomery's a little bit better suited to pitch in Philly in this ballpark.
You have 3 lefties, though?
That doesn't matter to me at this point.
It doesn't bother you?
Not at all.
I don't mind it either.
I don't like it. It's maybe that's too old school. I just think 3 lefties. I'm not sure that I want that.
No, I don't mind it a little bit, especially if they're. I'm so glad that you didn't say you didn't want Snell because of innings pitched.
No, I don't care about that. I
Yeah.
mean, you brought it up, like 180 innings.
Yeah, because Montgomery went
it's fine.
188 last year. He got 24 whole more outs than Blake Snell,
Yeah, that doesn't.
which is less than 1 a game.
That doesn't necessarily matter to me too much.
Yeah, good.
If I asked you, Bob, right now, just give me thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you, going into 2024, do you feel you are more confident than you were last year in Castellanos being a big contributor? Like a contributor?
Yes. But I can't say that. If you guys remember what I said last year.
You were on
I
the
put
doubles
that-
train with him
I
last
put
year.
that number out that his doubles and home runs had to equal somewhere around 60 to 65, and I thought he was going to bounce back, and he did exactly that. So I would say my expectations are the same for him this year.
How about Marsh? You know more about Marsh. I mean, he played a much.
Yeah, you know more? I thought you were talking about
I mean, like,
expectations.
you know much more about him. Like Marsh showed last year, he's a competent guy at the plate.
I think they fixed his swing when he got here.
Alec Boehm, you feel better about it?
Absolutely.
Stott?
Oh, yeah.
Schwarber?
Same.
Since you saw it twice?
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Sanchez, Suarez? I mean, like
Now, you said 3 lefties. You're only going to have 2. If you get one of these guys, you only have 2 in the starting 5.
yeah.
It would be Suarez and either Snell or Montgomery. The other 3 are righties.
How do you separate them?
What do you mean?
Like, how would you
Oh.
separate them?
I would go Wheeler.
Does that matter to you? I mean, all?
Yeah. Well, no, not till playoffs.
Yeah,
It
that
doesn't
is the
matter.
truth.
I'd start the season Wheeler, Nola, Snell/Montgomery, Suarez, and Walker. That's how I'd go.
Yeah.
Then come playoff time, depending on how their season goes, I might think about going righty, lefty, righty.
I got to tell you, I feel completely. I feel better about this Phillies season so much more than last year, because part of me, the skeptic in me, was saying, was last year a blip on the radar? Was 2022 a joyride? Because remember, 2022 the joyride didn't start until they won Game 1 against St. Louis. They backed into the playoffs, won 4 of their last 12 games. If Milwaukee doesn't go 4-10, they don't make the playoffs. They win that game at St. Louis, and then the joyride begins. It was more like 4 weeks of great baseball, whereas I think I saw them last year show they're a competent club, that they're a more well-balanced outfit, and there's nothing that would make me think this team's not playing in October.
Yeah, I mean, 2022, think about it. It was early June. I remember I was going to see my daughter in the hospital when it was announced that Joe Girardi got fired. So you're thinking, oh, geez, another firing of a manager. Where is this team? And then, boom, the meteoric rise of, like you said, kind of backing into the playoff, but then still getting to the World Series.
Going wild.
Unbelievable. Did it prove to themselves that they're a good team, and then you sign Trey Turner and become a really good team? Probably, but they're right set there right now.
Not to mention, I'm betting on Trey Turner having the Castellanos. Okay, he's comfortable now. He lives here now.
I agree.
That I think Trey Turner is going to be much closer to the player. Now, the question is, I do want to know is, he was the worst shortstop in the National League. He's the worst. Is he going to be that guy again? Because the defense has got to be better.
Yeah,
He's got
I
a
think it will
long-term
be.
contract.
There was I read a story over the weekend about there were some things that fundamentally he realized he was doing wrong, and they went over it all during the wintertime and stuff like that. Philly seemed confident. He's a good athlete. He's a really good, and we've seen him make great plays. So when I see that, when I see great plays and confident plays, like the play he made in the playoffs, like when you see that, you know it's there. So is it something more? Is it a concentration thing? Is it a little fundamental thing? I'm pretty confident he's going to come back and be a better than average shortstop this year.
I'm going to ask a question. If we've entered a golden era in Philadelphia sports, and I bet Bob and Pat and everyone will not even know what I'm talking about. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sixers, Flyers, both in action on Pat Egan, the Sports Update.
And I'm wondering, have we entered the golden era in Philadelphia sports? How many times do you hear that topic done? As far as is this the golden era? When it doesn't involve championships, I don't think it's golden era of any kind. But I was more talking along the lines of attendance. Do you realize right now we are in sort of the golden era of Philadelphia attendance? And it's something that you probably never think of as a sports fan, but it helps us as far as our owners wanting to spend discretionary income for the teams. The union is full. The Eagles are full. The Sixers are at the top of the NBA, right there at the top of the NBA in attendance. The Phillies, one of their best seasons since was it 4.5-year sellout streak, Pat, or was it 5? It was something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 4.
But last year, the fans responded by packing the ballpark after 2022 and showing their appreciation. And 2024 sales are projected even ahead of that. So once again, the ballpark's the place to be. And the interesting story is the Flyers have joined the party. And Flyer fans are back in the building. And it's one of those numbers where Flyers right now averaging 18,250. Now, that's only 650 fans on average a game, better than last year, almost 700. But it's also up from 21-22, where it's up almost 1,800 fans a game. Flyer fans are coming back. They're about to push that. They're going to push that 19,000 number, get back into that 19,000, 20,000 range. And this is the best era of across-the-board Philadelphia attendance we've ever seen. Because people abandoned the Phillies for long stretches. People didn't support the Sixers at the gate at this whatever the stadium was named at the time, all the time the way like they supported the Flyers. There's never been a time when all the teams were packing the houses like this. And this is in a tight economy. This isn't a bad economy right now. And people are still finding a ways to support the teams. This is the golden era of trying to get tickets to a game. This is the best we've seen across the board. Everybody thriving at the same time.
I got to tell you, I was shocked at your Flyer numbers.
It's pretty amazing.
Because, weren't we looking at, the place half full for a lot of games?
Well,
last year.
So that's why.
Yeah, but you still said last year they averaged almost 17,000?
It's deceiving because there weren't 17,000 people.
Well, every team is the same. Every team's the same way, though.
That's tickets sold, and towards the end of the year, people had tickets and they weren't going. If you had season tickets, you were checked out.
And
so I think the numbers are deceiving. I think it's actually more impressive this year.
Yeah, but the numbers have always been that.
Yeah, but last year, Flyers fans were more checked out than ever. The current regime that they had last year of Chuck Fletcher, what happened at the deadline, that place was a morgue. And people might have had tickets, but they were eating those tickets. They weren't going to the games. They were completely checked out. And just from doing the games and hearing from people down there saying, it's looking like a Reading Royals game right now. In terms of the attendance level. I could just tell you, being down there on Saturday, there were a decent amount of Rangers fans, but it was not even close to what it was last year when that big controversy happened of oh man, New York took over the building. New York didn't take over the building on Saturday.
No, there was a good amount.
There was a good amount, but that's what you kind of expect anyway.
Yeah.
There was a ton of, it was probably 75-25.
Yeah,
and the year before it was a 50-50, 60-40 Rangers fans.
And was it sold out?
I don't know if it was sold out. I don't think so.
On Saturday?
No,
Saturday
I'm talking
a year
last
ago.
year.
Last year. No.
But your point is good. I was surprised. I'm not contradicting what you're saying. I just look back. I'm surprised the Flyers numbers were what they were last year.
Well, because
that's right. But this year they are coming back.
And that's how the NHL keeps the numbers. So it's not the Flyers. It's every team gets the same benefit of that, of tickets sold. There have been but when you look at the numbers, it's so it does mean something for you as a fan base that the fans are attending. Because when the fans attend, that means you're going to have an ownership that is more willing to do some things. Even in a salary cap era, there are things that owners will spend on. How much is that practice facility was a big deal, Bob, for the Sixers? Did they, creating that practice facility was a big deal as far as they said to lure free agents?
Yeah,
to be able to, create those kind of things. The Eagles, they all make money. But there are certain owners who spend a ton more to try to make sure that everything around their team is first class. Spend more on coaches. There's no salary cap on coaches. So do you have a bigger coaching staff? Do you have a more detailed coaching staff? They do that because they have the money coming in. And right now, it's a good time. It's a good time to be a Philly sports fan.
Yeah,
And
you never have
a lot
to
of
worry.
ascending teams.
Yeah, you never have to worry about Eagles and rarely, through the Embiid era, Sixers, right? Phillies and Flyers seem to be the ones that it's a ride. If they're good, it's great. If they're not good, fans don't spend the money. The popularity of football. What are the Eagles? Pat, you know this thing better than me. The Eagles have like 50,000 in waiting for season tickets or something,
I
right?
think it's like 80.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's up there.
And what am I? Sixers rather. I think they have a huge fan base also that you're always going to get good crowds. So those are your stalwarts. And then, now the Flyers are up and coming and the Phillies are good. So you're right. It is a great time.
And it's just fun to see because I think it's going to benefit all of us in the long run. That the teams will be excited, the fan bases will be excited, and everybody will be ready to support those teams. And, then gives the owners that little bit of discretionary income that they can work it. There was an under the radar move, and the Reuben Frank, who does a fantastic job with NBC Sports Philadelphia, brought it up in his weekly column. He said Howie Roseman has already added 5 draft picks to the roster since last season ended. By the way, that's number 1 in the NFL. So he's out there grabbing teams' former draft picks. So not going in the free agency market, anything like that. And some of them are guys that, fell. Julian Aquara, the running back Tyrion Davis Price, Terrell Lewis, all were third-round picks. And 2020, 2022, and 2020, respectively. And he went out and he's grabbing guys off of rosters that then became free agency, that are guys that didn't really scratch the surface as far as reaching the levels that third and fourth round picks. He's added 3 third-round picks, former third-round picks, 1 former fourth-round pick, and 1 former fifth-round pick. It is the most in the NFL at doing that. But a lot of times, I guess Howie's looking at this as there's late bloomers. And he's seeing that it's maybe a higher reward when you go with a guy who's already been in the NFL for 3 years, hasn't really scratched the surface as far as what they're doing. Not terrible, but not living up to the potential that a third or fourth round draft pick has done, instead of saying, I'll use potential roster spots with guys off the street. Guys that weren't drafted, I'm going to go with undrafted free agents and take my shot. I don't think I hate the strategy, because he's actually seen these guys play. The Eagles scouts have seen these players play. And maybe a new coaching staff puts them in a position that they can succeed.
Yeah,
a new set of
maybe
eyes.
Somebody hits out of, what did you say, 5?
5, which
Maybe.
is the most.
Yeah, maybe somebody hits, but like you like to say a lot, there's a reason. There's a reason they were out there. There's a reason teams didn't play them all that much. I'm up for looking at anybody and everybody, especially when it comes to this defense. I mean, you're starting a Reed Blankenship. You're starting a guy that probably isn't starting on most teams in the NFL. You have other guys back there in that secondary that are undrafted, that are third, fourth round picks. Sure, I would take a look at everybody. Maybe somebody hits, maybe somebody's a special team player.
And
but
if you bring in 5 and 1 hits,
yeah,
if you hit 20% on something like this, I think it'd be better to try a guy though that's got some NFL tape, that's been around the NFL, than to go, okay, maybe this guy from a small school who didn't get drafted might be the diamond in the rough. I would think your hit rate is going to be just as good with a guy who's been in the NFL who maybe has underachieved or not lived up to the third-round grade that they were given or that the team gave to them.
Sure.
You know,
yeah, sure. Anybody that has some experience in the league and that was viewed as somebody to be in the league, sure, why not take a look at him? But I'm all for it. That's the depths of where I would lean heavily on the defensive side of the ball. That's the depths where you have to go when your defense is as underperforming as the Eagles was last year.
I wonder, as a guy, though, Pat, the contrary point of view would be how he doesn't have a great draft history. So I guess maybe having extra tape on these guys maybe makes it less likely that he makes a mistake. Or you're just trying to grab a bag of talent.
Yeah, I think you're just throwing darts at a board and hoping that maybe change of scenery helps. Am I expecting anything from any of these guys? No, not at all. There's a reason why their first team gave up on them, but I don't hate the idea because it's low risk, high reward situation. When you draft a guy in the third and fourth round, you're expecting, I think a lot of times, you're expecting a starter. And you're not expecting a Pro Bowler, but you're expecting a competent starter. So the fact that you're, scooping up some of these guys, yeah, see what you got in training camp, and if not, it didn't really cost you much. It's what they did a couple years ago with who was the running back from San Francisco that they ended up getting, and he was healthy scratched.
And they never,
Trey Sermon. Yeah, they never used them, but it was like same philosophy, right? Third round pick, and maybe so we can see if we can rejuvenate his career a little bit and get him going. They couldn't, but doesn't mean that you should stop trying that. So I love the idea because I feel like that's what you should be doing around this time before free agency is trying to get some camp bodies in there that can compete. And I'd rather have that than maybe an undrafted free agent. There's a reason why he was drafted, but I'm not expecting anything from him at all.
No. And, come on, Howie, get the draft right. You won't have to worry about these guys as much.
Well, I wonder about that, too. Is it an indictment?
On himself?
That you didn't, that you didn't manage to, you didn't manage to find these guys. There's never been more money spent on scouting in the NFL. There's never been. So, I mean, it's an amazing, it's like they spend so much money on scouting. They spend so much money on analysis. Yet it seems as if so many undrafted free agents are now making it into the league and making up rosters. And how does that happen? How does that happen when you're spending more on studying players and looking at players and putting eyeballs on players?
Yeah, you don't know until you see. I mean, Reed Blankenship is a perfect example, right? Who thought he was going to come in here and be a starter? And boom, there he is. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe you can upgrade that, but as of right now, yeah, that's your perfect example.
I mean, it's a numbers out there is how he tries to be there. And at the combine, they're putting eyeballs on everybody. And there's round-the-clock coverage of the combine. Bob, you will watch Oklahoma women's softball. But will you not watch the combine?
No, I never have watched the combine. Never will watch the combine. I'm okay. I've been out to probably 10 NBA combines.
But you'll watch women's softball. Is it because it's just?
What does that mean? And you'll watch women's softball.
No, but I mean, is it like? No, I get you. But
it's a competition. These guys are running what against the clock? The next time a football game includes a guy running against the clock in order for the game to be determined, that's when I'll show an interest in the NFL Combine. Yes.
Pat, will you watch any of the coverage?
Not a second.
Not a second of it?
Not a second. I can't believe that this is a thing that we need round-the-clock treatment of. But then again, it's round-the-clock by the NFL Network. What else are they doing?
Sure, exactly.
Yeah, they got nothing else going on. So, yeah, all right, they'll break down, some random quarterback from UTEP in his 40 time and act like he's going to get drafted. Like, yeah, why not? Go ahead, have fun. But no. I can't. There's a limit to my attention span when it comes to sports. And
you have an NFL is it an NFL bucket or is it all sports?
It's kind of all sports. Like I can't find the time and energy to put into non-games count. Like for me, the combine, that's probably the line. Like I'll watch the draft and I'll be into the draft and I'll be into every draft. NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB. Like I'll watch it and I'll be into it. But in terms of the combine, No, I can find something else. There's Netflix has a lot of good stuff on.
NFL just continues to the combine coverage last year. Routinely beat any women's college basketball game broadcast. Routinely beat soccer broadcasts from the MLS. Routinely beat most men's college basketball games. That's incredible to me. It's just the power of the NFL.
Yeah.
That people are out there finding it.
Look, if I hear about a 350-pound offensive lineman ran a 4.40, I'm going to look it up and say, oh, let me see this. That's pretty wild. But no, like I said, no, it doesn't. If I hear Marvin Harrison goes out there, and I don't even think he's going to the combine this year, but if you hear like a Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think is so good, goes out and runs like a 3.8. Yeah, I'm going to watch that.
You'd seek out that content, but you're not watching everybody else run.
No.
Hey, Pat, you're a little concerned that the Sixers' relationship with Tobias Harris, it troubles you. Something about it just you find very troubling.
Yeah, it's the thing I find troubling about that is that it's a thing. They have a relationship with Tobias Harris. I wish they didn't. He's not very good right now, and I don't like it, and I'm looking forward to him not being on the team. But when it comes to the topic that you're talking about that I sent in, it's not even so much Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris, they made a giant mistake with. They gave him the max money because they were forced to, because they gave up so many assets to get him. At the time, it was the Heat's unprotected first-round pick. It was Landry Shamet, who looked like he was a really, really good rookie in the league, kind of flamed out at this point. But at the time, it was like, man, you gave up a haul to get Tobias Harris. You can't let him walk for nothing. So what do? They gave him a max contract, and that's one of the reasons why right now he's like enemy number one in this city, because he's done absolutely nothing since Joel Embiid's out. Assassin scorer my ass. My fear with Tobias Harris's situation is we are going to relive it, but instead of with Tobias Harris, it's going to be Buddy Hield. And I do not want them signing Buddy Hield to a lucrative extension for the sake of signing him so they can say, we didn't trade him for nothing. Because in reality, like, they didn't trade. They traded for him, and they gave up virtually nothing. They give up second-round picks. So I'm okay if they don't re-sign Buddy Hield, but it worries me that when we had Daryl Morey on, he talked about Buddy Hield as if he was like the greatest player of all. Oh my God, we got the best guy at the deadline. And then he also mentioned that it's not their own possibility to do sign Tobias Harris back. But I don't even care about Tobias Harris. I don't think he's going to be back no matter what. Buddy Hield, I've never been enamored with Buddy Hield like other Sixers fans are, but I'm worried that if they sign Buddy Hield in the offseason to a big-time contract, they're going to quickly regret it. I think he's almost 32 at this point. He'll be 32 next year. I haven't been really impressed with him. If he can't get a shot off, he's not really doing much. And I'm worried they're going to overpay to justify trading for him. And they're going to have a lot of money to do so, which worries me. And that's the same situation they found themselves in with Tobias Harris. They had a lot of money. They had to spend it. They spent it on him. They spent it on wisely.
So when the Tobias Harris thing went down with Jimmy Butler and all that nonsense, where were you?
I wanted Jimmy Butler back at all costs.
No, I know that. But, like, when you knew that Jimmy was taking himself out of the mix.
Yep.
So then were you anti them signing Tobias? Would you have been willing to take a step back?
Anti. It was like I understood it. I understood the move. I thought he'd be better than what he has turned out to be. But at the time, I didn't think he'd ever reach max level player. I mean, at the time, I thought he was overpaid. But I also didn't. I severely underestimated his ability to be an assassin spectator. And that's what he's been. It's amazing to me that he continues to be the third and fourth option. Like the excuses that the pro Tobias people make of, well, no, I mean, now he's the third. You could take literally every single Sixers player off the team. They all have COVID. They all have NBA poops. You name it. And the only player that's healthy is Tobias Harris, and somehow he'd find a way to be the third option still. It's incredible. He never steps up. I didn't expect that, but I expected to be slightly disappointed with the contract because he was overpaid. They had to overpay. I understood the move at the time. I don't want to make the same mistake with Buddy Hield.
Yeah, last 7 games for Tobias, he's averaged 13 points a game and shot 42% from the floor. Yeah, you can't have that. So the question goes to, all right, you bring up Buddy Hield. I'm not going to go specific in names. Are you okay with your 1-2 next year are Embiid, Maxey, and then you have to find a 3? You don't want it to be Buddy Hield. Or do you need a 2?
You need a 2.
You need a 2. I mean, I'm okay with Buddy Hield coming off the bench, but I'm worried that they're because of the cap space they have and because of the fact that they have never really attracted top-level free agents to come here other than when they have to overpay them, I'm worried that you're going to have to overpay to keep Buddy Hield. And we're going to be sitting there going, like, why are we paying this dude $25 million a year when he ain't a $25 million a year player?
Here's the thing, though, is it's interesting in this whole conversation because my radar goes off in, are you going to overpay for Tyrese Maxey?
I think he's a max player. So I don't think that's
I don't think they're going to overpay him.
Well, I mean, is Tyrese Maxey a max player?
I think so.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's borderline that is but you have to do it. You have no choice, and he's a hell of a player that everybody loves, but I have a feeling that that could be a contract where people go, yeah, Tyrese never rolled into being the player you thought he was going to be. And as Bob's saying, you can't count on a young guard like that to carry the team when a guy like Embiid's out. But I think you need something else better, and I don't know you're going to get a running mate for Joel Embiid. And if you don't get another running mate for Joel Embiid this summer, I mean,
and that's the problem.
What
is
are you
like,
doing?
how do you get that guy? Because you struck out time and time and time again.
Over and over.
You've tried to bring in that guy. You tried to find that guy, lure him here. You build a practice facility for it. And yet still you have to overpay. And they're going to have a lot of cap space. But just hearing Daryl Morey say, we got the best player at the deadline. Did you? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't create a shot at all on Saturday. He was just getting shut down left and right. He hasn't been overly impressive in his Sixers tenure. I understand he's learning a new system, but I've just always looked at Buddy Hield as like a really, really, really good six-man. And to throw him in there and pay him $25 million a year, I'm not really for it. I think you're in for a disappointment.
So if I told you that, according to some, that the Sixers were going to sign the top free agent this offseason, how would that make you feel?
Excellent.
Who is it?
Paul George?
Is it Siakam?
Tyrese Maxey.
No.
All of a sudden it went to no.
No, because
I went
he's
to
not.
two different things.
Because he's not.
I'm just telling you, I went to two different things, ranking the 2024 NBA free agents, number one and two of them, Tyrese Maxey.
Wow.
So you should be happy for that. Number two, Paul George. Number three, LeBron. Number four, Siakam. Anunoby's up there. Harden, number 6. DeRozan. Are these names that excite you at all? Tobias Harris, number 8.
Oh, geez.
Drew Holiday, number 9. Miles Bridges. You're talking Nick Claxton. Emmanuel Quickly, who's a name that I kind of want to keep in the back of my mind. That I like that a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, what are we talking here? Where are we going? What are you doing? But, I said to you guys, number one free agent, you sign him? Yeah. Okay, it's Tyrese Maxey. And then you both went, oh.
Well, that's because no one's expecting that to be the guy. I mean, when you hear number one free agent, no one's expecting Tyrese Maxey to leave. So you're already penciled him in. So you're basically just telling me, like,
I'm
hey,
getting what I already expected to get.
Hey, we have cookies at home.
Right.
Like, that's what you're telling me. Like, I don't want cookies from home.
Hey.
All right? I know I have cookies from home. I want
Are we
cookies
ever
from
going to get cookies from your home again, by the way?
I don't know, man.
Where is she?
I have no idea.
She's MIA.
I got to tell you.
Hey,
Disappointed.
Bob loves a good bathtub, I guess, because he says splashes sometimes can be minimal. Find out who's getting wet next. John Kincade Show on the Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Drysdale out. I'm Patty.
Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Appreciate you hanging out with us. Looks like a beautiful day outside. It's going to be like in the 60s today.
Supposed to
Before
rain
the rain
later.
comes in. Yeah, rain later this afternoon and then tomorrow. So a lot of rain coming in the next 24
And then a
hours.
cold front. It's the up and downness of February, March.
So you want to watch yourself from getting splashed, getting wet. You don't want to get cold. You want to be careful with that.
That's a good point, John.
So, I mean, Bobby, is that you say with the Eagles, though, they need to be able to take this advice. What, does Howie Roseman need to make sure he's not splashing in the shower? What's the deal?
I'm at the point, like, I can't take ripples. I can't have, like, small little ripples in the water. I don't need to put my toe in. I really do need the Eagles to make a splash. Like cannonball time here, Howie. And I'm not being disrespectful to our earlier emailer who said calling him Howie is disrespectful. That's his name. I want a splash. I want to see I don't know, a disgruntled linebacker free agent in here. I want to see names. I want to see this defense really, I want it to be really known by us. That defense is the main part of the Eagles' focus this offseason. And it has to be. And, I just saw Shaquille Barrett got let go by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Three-time Pro Bowl outside linebacker, 31 years old, a little bit older. Probably not the type I'm really talking about, but something I want to see a linebacker come in here that we say, oh, there you go. Way to go, Howie. I need to see some splashes. I know how close this team was 2 years ago, and I know how close it looked like it was this year through 11 games. But it fell off drastically. I need splashes. I want big-time moves. And, look, I'm not overselling it like, you're bringing in the best of the best. But, no, I want us to be wowed a couple of times this offseason on the defensive side of the ball.
Is there an age thing with you as far as, like, are you looking that, like, to me, if you had an opportunity like a Patrick Queen.
Absolutely.
26 years old.
Yep.
And to me, that's
funny you mention that because that's one of the first names that pops into my head.
Because to me, Splash is that.
Yeah.
Splash is along those lines. That's the kind of thing that means to me. I don't want to see an old a guy who's going to be on it who I don't want to see I'd love to see a second contract splash, not a third contract splash.
Yeah. Yeah. There's going to be names out there that like L'Jarius Sneed.
Yes.
And he's been
a second contract guy. I'd be
connected to the Eagles. Yeah. Like, let's go. Get that. Get a Queen. Get a couple of those. Oh, okay, cool. I like that because that's where you are. That's how bad your defense is right now. Like, you have to do this.
The thing is, though, Pat, with what Bob's saying is the Eagles, though, are in one of those things where you want to take advantage of it. Why you've got AJ, why you've got Devontae, why you got Dallas, why, you know what I mean? They want to take advantage of it now. You might want to maybe my idea of not wanting to go with a third contract guy or somebody towards the end that you could get a couple years splash out of isn't something that I should ignore.
I don't think you should ignore it. I mean, there's obviously the window's very much open for this team, but they're bereft of talent right now on the defensive side of the football. They don't have, and even in the spots where they do have talent, they have no depth. So they really do need to remake this offense or this defense. I mean, and in order to do that, you're going to need to have some splashes. You're going to need to have some signings where you go, oh, didn't see that coming. Like, I don't want to see them go out day one and sign some right guard to a massive contract. I don't. I mean, yes, it's very important. I know they build through the trenches and all that, but I want to see them go and basically just address the defensive side of the football for, the majority of March and then see what they do in the draft. But they need to go out there and address guys and a 26-year-old linebacker. Yeah, that fits my prerogative for sure.
Yeah, and people talking about money, well, if you sign Sneed, then you're probably not going to be able to long-term Devontae Smith. Howie always makes that stuff work. And maybe it is naive of me to say, like, you can do all these things. Howie makes it work, and a lot of it does depend on are you shelling out money to the veterans that you're going to or not going to re-sign. There's money there to be had. Howie does it better than anyone. I need big splashes.
Splashes are what gets. I don't know though. Do you winning? Like they always talk about winning free agency. Is it winning free agency isn't what gets teams to championships? It's that draft, but you can sort of do both. You can have your feet in both pools. You can have a successful free agency period but really focus on the draft. There's plenty of opportunity to do both.
Oh, there's
It's
plenty.
not like
There's
you
three
can't do
ways.
right.
Yeah, there's 3 ways to build: trade, draft, free agency.
That's it.
I think they're all equal. I'm not
So
going.
you think they're all equal? I do not.
Yeah.
I
mean,
look at draft as the number one by far because of the fact that you get cheap labor, cheap controllable labor.
Yeah, I mean, business aspect wise, you're right there. But as far as building a team, look at the Eagles that went to the Super Bowl. I mean, you had some drafts,
It's a hodgepodge.
you had some trades, and you certainly had some free agents. Look no further than your starting cornerbacks. Trades, look at your best wide receiver.
Sure.
Draft, look at another wide receiver and your quarterback. I mean, it's all there. I do put them equally.
Sixers enter play tonight, one game out of the play-in tournament. It's getting dicey. Joe joins us. Joe, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. How are you, buddy?
Hey, man, good morning. You know what? I think with the Sixers, I think Buddy Hield was, a choice of Joel. My thing was, why wouldn't Wally flip Tobias at the trade deadline where he could pick up something, and if he loved him so much, he could have still signed him next year for a cheaper price.
I don't think there was a market for him. I really don't.
Well, other GMs act like he traded Kevin Durant when it comes to Tobias Harris.
Well, I mean, I just think I don't think. Thank you, Joe. I don't think there were clamoring calls for Tobias Harris.
No, the only reason you get calls is for teams that are looking to salary dump. You pick that up this year and it's gone for next year, and you have room to work with. There wasn't a whole lot of teams out there that were doing that this year. So no, I don't think there was a lot of clamoring for Tobias Harris either.
By the way, the Flyers continue to try to break their losing streak at home tonight versus Tampa Bay. You'll find that game over on WMMR tonight. So Flyers also in action, trying to keep up on their playoff setting.
They're going to get a lot of eyes going over to them, or listenership going over to them. I'll say around 8:30.
So
if you don't
as soon as
start
the game
with
begins?
the Flyers, if you don't start with the Flyers, I think around halftime of the Sixers, you're going to switch over.
I know that it was something that hurt Pat at the trade deadline, but I cannot find the charm in Patrick Beverley. I can't find the charm in him after a minuscule, tiny performance on Sunday, where he was not any reason that the Bucks beat the Sixers. None. He was a non-factor in the game. Hate to do it, but it's only right. Philly, thanks for everything, double hearts, but belt to ass. Patrick Beverley, what did you contribute to that game? You're a non-factor, and he's spiking the football like he was something that was a big part of that game. Yeah, if Giannis wanted to put that out for some reason, Giannis wanted to taunt or whatever, I guess you could. He doesn't. But I got to tell you, I don't know what the charm is with Pat Beverley. I
absolutely see what the charm is. It's right out there. It's in your face. It's drinking the beer on the podium after the game. Stuff that you say, yeah, it doesn't matter. It does to fans. Like, I talked about it after he got traded. If you're looking at the basketball aspect of it, it really didn't make much difference. A Pat Beverley, a campaign.
It doesn't.
They're not,
he's a non-factor
they're probably
player.
One in the same. Yeah, but he's great at building his brand. He's great at comes out and says, yeah, Dame Lillard and I had a fight 2 years ago. I told him, man, we got to go to dinner because now we're teammates. And so he's good at building what he is, and that is an in-your-face, tougher defensive player. Marginal, NBA, not a marginal NBA player, but a guy that's marginally going to help your team. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
he's marginally going to help.
Yeah, but he's done a great job of doing that, of building his brand, of getting fans to love him because of it. You know, he says, Philly fans, I love you. They're all, we love you too. And then in the back of his mind, he goes, but I can't piss off the Milwaukee fans. So we put that belt to your ass. And then Milwaukee fans are like,
I'd be like, we?
So, like, it's just his
You watched players put the belt to the ass? He didn't do that. He
didn't, but
he
he
was a
did.
non-factor. He was a complete non-factor.
Yeah, but you're talking about him, and that's exactly what he wants. He wants, when he was here, Phillies fans love him. When he goes to Milwaukee, they're going to love him. Everywhere he goes, he's loved because he knows how to build himself up to that.
Now, about building his brand as far as a podcast and stuff like that, I can get the appeal because that's what people want. They want the Stephen A. Smith. They want the Patrick Beverley. They want that Skip Bayless crap. That's what they want. They want controversy. They want spicy. But as far as, like, bragging about after victories like you were a part of it, I mean, Hubie Brown had as much to do with that victory, sitting on the sidelines at, 89? I don't know what Hubie is now. I mean, Hubie's, real up there. Yeah. And Pat, you love the podcast, but, I mean.
Love that, man. Can't make me not like him. Love him. I want him back.
Belt.
Bring back Pat Bev.
For the podcast?
Yeah.
You can listen to the podcast.
I don't care about the podcast.
No,
I love him as a player. I've wanted him as a player for years. I finally got him. He got traded. I want him back. I love that dude. He brings an energy that I think I think is needed with this team and this city. And I don't care if he had 4 points and was Kincade. I mean, you could argue made bigger impact than Tobias Harris. I had to get my shot in there.
You're on the train. We'll let you go.
Yeah.
He brings more to a team than you're going to see on the court.
Yeah, you don't see
it.
You don't see it in the stat sheet.
You're talking about intangibles he brings to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no question that he brings intangibles to the table.
I mean, and they got their ass whooped, so I don't care who's saying it. Like I don't care if it's the guy that's cleaning up the sweat with the towels. I mean, the Sixers got their teeth kicked in. So
should they not? Should they not have been?
I can't really get like upset over anybody from Milwaukee getting chesty. Like the Milwaukee Bucks have been a better run organization. They have a championship. The Sixers don't.
Which Pat Bev has nothing to do with.
They don't, but I don't care.
He's been there for a cup of coffee.
But sitting there and going, Pat Bev had nothing to do with that isn't going to make me as a Sixers fan feel better about the fact they lost by 21 points. They got hammered.
I'm looking at it going, shouldn't the Bucks have buried the Sixers?
They should have, I guess. I mean,
then he's just stating facts.
No, but I mean, but again, it's him doing it.
So? What's wrong with
I'm
him doing
surprised at you. Because, Bob, I'm absolutely surprised because I would be shocked that you're like, the guy who has nothing to do with the win is the guy that's doing that. None of the other Bucks are doing that. None.
You're always looking for people to be the same. People are different. And
I know what he's trying to do.
That's why everybody loves him because that's who he is. He's different. He grabs clipboards. He takes guys out and shows them how to play pick and rolls. He does those things because he cares so much. And he does the ass whooping thing. Like, it's just, you got to take it for what it is. And that's why guys like Pat love him. I laugh it off because he's so into it and this is what he does. Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's fine.
He talks about that, and I had to go back and look for it because it didn't make sense to me. On his podcast, he talked about being with the Sixers and what great chemistry they had and how everybody works together and how they were a great meshing group of people and a team and all that stuff. He leaves, and the week after, he's like, yeah, everybody in Philly, all they care about stats. He completely contradicted what he said. So if a player...
No, he was saying when I was there, everything was kosher. Everything was great. When I was there, things were good. People liked each other. Now that I've left...
No, he didn't say that. No, that's not what he said.
Things have changed now that he's gone.
That's not what he said.
Now all they care about is numbers.
No, he's saying that was the difference between Milwaukee and Philly when he was talking to Tobias. He said the difference is here everybody wants to win, whereas in Philly everybody's worried about their stats. But when he was talking about the Sixers as a Sixers teammate, he talked about them as being this team that was perfectly meshed and these guys all working together in a real together locker room and everything. I love a player giving you inside scoop, Pat, but the story can't change a week after you're traded.
Sure can. Absolutely can. He's placating to his new audience. I don't blame him for that. Yeah. He's placating to the Milwaukee crowd, and he's trying to win them over, and he will. And I didn't read into that too much, honestly. Apparently, he called up Daryl and said, "Am I getting traded?" And
No, he talked to him on the floor at Utah.
Are we trying to win? And Daryl said, "Yeah." And then he got traded, so he's probably feeling a certain way. But I didn't look at it as anything other than him trying to kind of cater to his new crowd. I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing. I mean,
Isn't his
I didn't
podcast
get
a national
upset.
thing, though?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's not like he's doing a podcast for Milwaukee.
He's catering to, like, Patrick Beverley, for the most part, is a guy that you don't like until he's on your team.
That could be true.
Catering to the Milwaukee. I don't think he's catering for the podcast, but he's catering to like win a fan base over. Because I know when the Sixers signed Pat Beverley, a lot of people were anti-Pat Bev, and then they saw what he brought, and he ended up winning a lot of people over.
What is he now? 35.
He's like 35. Yeah.
All right,
You think he's going to be a coach, by the way?
I don't know. I don't think he has the slow it downness for a coach. But if he didn't have this in your face, grabbing the clipboard, all of that stuff, in all honesty, do you think that's added some years to his life in the NBA?
Nobody would even know who he was.
I don't think like he's getting signed because of his in your face mentality. Like, I do think he does bring a defensive stop to a second unit, but I don't think it's hurt. Like, I think if you're looking for a certain attitude in your locker room, he's going to bring it. It's the same reason why P.J. Tucker was getting signed. Like, P.J. Tucker was the king of King Cardio, and he's getting signed to bring that quote-unquote, like, that dog mentality in your locker room.
Listen to you pulling a Sirianni out of here.
I know. Patrick Beverley's the same thing, though. He brings that attitude and that, toughness and, that bad cop if you're a coach that's a good cop. So I think he's probably going to be playing 2 or 3 more years.
Wow.
If he wants to. But he's accepted his role. Like, he's fine with his role.
Who's it down in I'm drawing a blank in Miami? It's been on the roster for like 18 seasons.
Udonis Haslem.
Yeah, exactly. So same type of situation.
Yeah, maybe.
He is more loved down in Miami
love him.
than almost any player I've seen throughout the league for a non-star. Yeah.
He's I saw promised like he's gonna be front office job and be.
And we're talking as many as like in 2000 and maybe 12 or whatever it was when the Sixers were in the playoffs against Miami. When I was down there covering it, that's how people were talking about him then.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
He is really absolutely beloved. And sometimes players get that. They bring some intangible, or they just become relatively the journeyman doesn't do that. And Pat Bev's a journeyman.
Oh, absolutely.
And he doesn't get that.
He'll remain a journeyman.
And it's unique, though, that a journeyman has this kind of following, has this kind of appeal.
I think it's just the way he carries himself. And I look at it like a positive in a lot of ways, but you're not used to pro basketball players being so upfront about wanting to go after each other and not necessarily being friends and whatnot.
I mean, think about it. Why did the Sixers bring him in? You lost P.J. Tucker, and you needed some toughness. So that's why Pat Bev is coming here.
But then Nick Nurse
he's coming here and he's averaging 3 points in 12 minutes a game. It's not like it's mostly an XO move.
No, but Nick Nurse said, I got to look at him, and I don't need him.
Well, I don't know if Nick Nurse said it or if Daryl Morey said it.
You think Daryl Morey looked at it and said, I don't think I'm getting what...
Well, no, he was getting what you expected, but, I mean, you can get better from somebody else. Like, okay, you needed a toughness. You needed a guy to come into the locker room to be, part of that, to bring this team together. Great. Okay, you thought you needed that. You addressed it, and then you moved on from it. Yeah, I don't. Like I said at the time when they traded him, I see what he brought. I understand why fans are upset that he was. But if you go onto the court and go X's and O's, and you give a Pat Beverley and a campaign, personality-wise, the fans are going to go for Pat Beverley. If you go X's and O's wise, most coaches are probably going to go for campaign.
This guy has to be back. And will Howie Roseman talk about him today when he addresses the media in Indianapolis? John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports. The John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
A warm Tuesday awaits you. Hang out with the Fanatic all day long. Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni will speak to the media this afternoon. There'll be plenty of reaction to it with Andrew Salchunas in middays and with the best show ever this afternoon. So a lot of questions will probably come his way about potentially who can come back. I'd be interested to see what kind of answer he gets on Hassan Reddick. And, Pat, we were talking about this yesterday with the $31 million rise in the cap, but you don't think there's any excuse for it not getting done. I don't know what Hassan Reddick's asking.
I don't know what he's asking
I'm
either.
not just writing him a blank check.
Yeah, I'm not writing him a blank check necessarily, but he said all the right things in terms of I want to come back. I'm a local guy. I've had the best years of my career in Philly. I'm just worried at this point that if Hassan Reddick isn't on this team, it was a concentrated decision by the organization to let him go. Because with the cap going up,
right,
with Howie being a wizard, like I can't have it both ways. I can't sit there and say Howie's a cap wizard and then go, well, they have cap, they have cap restraints on the position. Well, if he's a wizard, then there are no restraints, and with the cap going up, there are no excuses not to bring him back.
But what if he's priced himself where it's a ridiculous? We don't know what his asking price is.
We don't, but
and I would imagine a premier pass rusher on the market, if his dollar figure was affordable, I would think the Eagles would have a ton of teams lining up saying trade for him.
Maybe. I mean, maybe they're just strictly playing hardball. I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they get, but like if he goes for, I don't know, $28 million, yeah,
that's too much.
I don't think so.
Right?
I mean, I don't think so. It's
wow.
His production level's there. It's been there.
You're doubling his
it.
pay.
He's earned it. He's up there as one of the premier pass rushers in the league. And the cap going up can't be forgotten. Like $28 million next year is not going to be $28 million last year. And I can't praise Jeffrey Lurie about cutting bonus checks to keep the cap hit low. All right, well, I mean, if I'm going to praise him for that, then do it. Like keep one of your guys at a position that you have zero depth at. If they trade him, like they'll say, oh, we tried and blah blah blah. No, if they trade him, it is an organizational decision to move on from him, and I think it's a bad decision because they don't have any depth.
If he was asking for 28, there's no way I'm doubling his salary.
Well, but if he's exceeded your expectations, like you're looking at it like, oh my God, we're doubling, but they got him on
15 to 28.
They got him on a deal the first time.
Okay,
they got him on a really good deal the first time. He's outperformed that deal and then some. He is one of the premier pass rushers. Like, do you want him or not? I mean,
no, but I don't want to. I'm not interested in saying, okay, I'm going to hurt my cap more now to pay you back for the fact that you signed a contract because we gave you a number, you agreed to it.
So then how does it work with you? Because if a guy works hard and he earns his next contract,
I'll give him a raise.
Well, let me finish. If the guy works hard and he earns his next contract, it's, well, I can't pay you for previous stuff. But if he doesn't do that and he wants it, it's, well, I can't pay you because you didn't perform.
No, I'll give him a 33% raise. I'll bring him to 20. I'll bring him to 21.
He's outperformed that. He's a top-level pass rusher. He's earned top-level money. And we can't use it as a negative that he's earned that because of previous years, because that's literally, I mean, that's the whole thing. You earn that money.
The only way you'll be able to prove what you're saying, though, Pat, is if he gets somebody that's willing to pay him that.
Maybe.
Like, I mean, I'm willing to give him a big raise. A 33% raise is a big raise.
So what is that in
15
terms of?
15 to 20. He goes to 20.
No, that's not enough. For one of the premier.
20 would put him in the top 10.
Yes, I think he's a top 10 pass rusher.
I think he's a top 5 pass rusher. I think he's one of the premier pass rushers in the game of football.
I think top 10 makes you premier.
His numbers dictate that, and I don't like. Yes, the Eagles have some negotiating power in this. So does Hassan Reddick. They don't have any depth. If Hassan Reddick leaves, who's your pass rush? It's Josh Sweat and who? I'm all ears because they don't have one.
I got you. I just
he's also. I mean, the Eagles are in a situation where I don't want to see them play themselves and go, you know what? No, they did this with Brian Dawkins years ago. Like, we can move on. We don't need him. We'll find somebody else. And they couldn't. And they spent, I mean, it seemed like 10 years trying to find somebody to replace him. Now, I don't want to compare Hassan Reddick to Brian Dawkins because Brian Dawkins is a Hall of Famer, but the idea of, man, we've done this before, we can do it again, sometimes you can't. And in this situation, finding a guy of Hassan Reddick's production with the cap going up. Like, I understand the argument if the cap's not going up. The cap's going up $30 million. Like, that $28 million, that might as well be $20 million for last year's numbers. So, I'm not cutting him a blank check, but I'm definitely more likely to give him what he wants. 28 would be a blank check. But it's not, though. Because if I'm Hassan Reddick and my price was 28, it might go up to 35 based on the cap going up $30 million. Like, I might look at it like, well, crap, all right, maybe I need to get paid even more.
He'd be paid in the top two.
But you're forgetting the cap going up.
No, I'm not forgetting it.
It seems like you are, though, because the cap going up, it means that the value is less.
But, Pat, you're worth what somebody's willing to pay you. I think the Eagles are smart enough to know the market that they're looking out there going, nobody's going to pay him $28 a year.
Maybe. I don't want to sit there and find out. That's the thing. I'm not playing chicken. This is a dumb, stupid game of chicken.
He's not leaving without it. You have control of him.
Yeah, but you do until all of a sudden you find somebody and they go, all right, well, let's go second-round pick and third round.
No,
I don't even think it'll be a second-round pick. It'll be like I think it's a third or fourth-round pick.
That's my guess,
I don't want to play this dumb game of chicken. I don't see we're going to nickel and dime a local guy who took a less deal to come here, outperformed it, and then some. I don't get the luxury. You didn't draft a guy. I don't get the mindset. You didn't draft a guy behind him to take his spot. They don't have anybody.
Look.
Here's your top edge rushing salaries. I'm sorry, from 2023. T.J. Watt, $28 million.
He's not T.J. Watt. He's not close to him.
Joey Bosa, $27 million.
I don't like that contract.
Myles Garrett, $25 million.
He's not Myles Garrett.
Khalil Mack, $23.5 million. Max Crosby, $23.5 million. Bradley Chubb, $22 million.
He's not Bradley Chubb.
Von Miller, $20 million.
Before you continue, how much would those guys get with the cap going up $30 million?
In an open market?
Right now in an open market.
Well, the thing is...
Because I'd say 99% of those guys, they're all getting huge raises.
They've given him, right now, they have literally said to him, just like the Phillies did with Aaron Nola, you got a number you're asking for, we're not meeting it.
Yep.
Here's a number we think's viable.
Yep.
Go shop yourself, and he's going to come back to them and give them a chance to match.
Maybe.
I don't think he's finding it. Yeah, well, no, he has to.
But that's the thing. Like you're going under the assumption that he doesn't find it, and I'm going under the assumption that he does.
Okay.
I'm going under the assumption that Hassan Reddick won't be here.
So
that's a fear that I have. You're going, yeah, he'll be back. I mean, he's not going to find this, and he's going to have to come back hat in hand and accept what they're offering. I don't think that's the case.
I don't think people are going to pay him with those top guys.
But
I don't think he's going to find it.
That goes back to my point of those top guys had signed previous contracts.
I got you.
Before the cap, because the cap going up, those top guys are looking at $35 million, $37 million.
I can't imagine doubling a guy's salary almost doubling it as he's in his 30s.
But don't even look. You're looking at it like the wrong way. Like you're looking at it doubling, and I'm looking at it like, well, you're getting probably what he earned. Like that's what his production level dictates.
If I said to you, you can bring him back and let's make it 25.
Okay.
I'll get 25. Let's just say 25 is enough.
That's fine.
You can bring him back at 25. You're giving him a 67% raise.
Okay,
you can bring him back.
If I can bring him back at 25.
Okay, 25.
I'm bringing him back at 25.
Would you? And that meant you're not going to be able to do Devontae Smith and Landon Dickerson. You're like okay with that.
I see. That's the thing. I don't look at
you'd make them wait.
I don't look at bringing him back as prohibitive of not being able to do that because you can't have it both ways. I can't claim Howie Roseman's a cap wizard and then go, well, Howie Roseman can't do this. Like, this dude reworks contracts all the time. He finds cap space in his couch cushions. So, like, dude, like, earn your merit now. Like, this is the time. Get this guy done, but also sign these guys to extensions where it makes sense for them. And a big part of that is the check that Jeffrey Lurie's going to have to cut.
Where do you fall on that, Bobby?
It's an interesting conversation. I kind of lead more towards Pat. You're going to have money with the cap. Looking at the raise that he gets from 15 to 22 million, I think 22 million is a fair number.
I think it's a close enough number that I wouldn't be against it. 28, ridiculous. He's not in that neighborhood of player. He's a really, really good player.
Yeah, but if those neighborhood of players, like kind of what Pat was saying, the Bosas, the Myles Garrett, if their 28 goes up to 35 and all, then you're like, okay, he's the 6th, 7th highest paid edge rusher. He's probably deserving of that.
He's also, though, older. And again, I've seen it, and I screened it from the rooftops last summer. When guys hit 30, whether you like it or not, there's a drop-off. It starts to happen. And I don't want to pay, and it may not be fair, and I know Pat will say it's not been fair, that I'm not paying you I'm giving you the huge raise because we got you on a great deal before, and we're going to pay you for past performance when in the NFL we know it falls off.
I hate that. Like, so a guy gets punished,
because of age.
Malcolm Jenkins got punished because he was too durable. Like, that to me made no sense. He was too durable. He never missed time, so we got to punish him. Now it's, well, I can't pay you on past performance. Well, unless we have a time machine, then I don't know how to pay you because I don't know what you're going to do. All I can do is judge what you're going to do by what you did.
Do you think the Eagles offered him a raise?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think what would, if you were to guess, where do you think the Eagles put his $15 million? He was 3 years, $15 million. By the way, he's under contract for $15 million.
He is indeed. We can confirm.
So
that's a fact.
What do you think they offer?
Probably 21.
That's what I would guess.
Yeah, probably
that's
21.
Where I'm guessing.
And I don't blame him for coming back and wanting 28, 29.
I don't blame him either.
And there's some middle room there. I'm just, as I said, a big part of this discussion that I have is I fear that he will find something to his liking, and the Eagles go, no, you know what? We're feeling ourselves a little bit. We found you. We'll find somebody else. It's very similar to what they did with linebacker with T.J. Edwards. Like, no, we're good.
I don't think they're going to, Pat.
And I hope they don't.
I honestly don't think they're going to let him walk.
I pray to God.
I think they'll say, play and honor your contract because he's not going to sit out.
I pray that fast forward 2 weeks from now, we are laughing about this, and I'm talking about how I was young and naive.
I hope
but
that
I can't have that impure thought.
And it's funny, age-wise, when you go to the Bosa's and Myles Garrett and all, they're all the same age. They're all 28. Hassan Reddick's just 29. Like, they're all right there. So age isn't really maybe.
They were signed, though, before. You see, they were signed to contracts that gets the end of their 20s.
Well, you're not giving them. Yeah, well, they're still signed, though. Like, they're going to have contracts going into their 30s, most of them. Reddick, what are you going to give them? A 3-year extension?
Probably 3 years.
Yeah, that takes you to 33 as an edge rusher. I'm okay with that.
And if it's a dummy year at the end, which Howie's perfect for, but I look, we're going to see how it plays out. I think that the reason he's not already locked up is because the number he's asked for is unrealistic. That's a guess on my part. That's not reporting. That is just my guess because I know they love him. I've heard enough of that they love him. I want to hear that from Howie today. And he likes being here. So it's just about the money. We'll see if they can come to an agreement on it. And hopefully they will. Because as Pat and I disagree on that, neither one of us disagrees. We both clamored for him to be here.
Yeah.
And I want him here.
One of the things I don't think you can look at is like percentage of raise. It's unrealistic in sports. I mean, Jalen Hurts, what was his raise? He went from $1 million a year to $52 million a year.
Well, because he's a second-round pick.
I know, but it's just like like when you get raises in professional sports, it's not like our world where we're looking for a 5%, 10% raise. These guys get those, 35, 40, 50, 90% raises, right?
CBS Sports yesterday had a piece where they ranked the top rotations in baseball. Where'd the Phillies end up? Unless you did, and if you didn't read it.
I didn't see it. Dodgers would be better. I'll go Phillies are probably fourth. I feel like there's probably two teams.
All of Major League Baseball.
I was going to say 5th or 6th.
I gotta think about
who do you have better than them?
The Dodgers are
definitely.
Dodgers are not
really
better than them. Nope. Rotation 1 through 5.
Clickbait and then some.
Wow.
Okay.
Houston?
Houston's listed as number 2.
Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers, Pat, will shock you. They're not even top 10.
Okay.
Do they have the Diamondbacks in there?
Yes, at 8.
So they're above the Phillies?
No, they're not.
Oh, okay.
The Phillies are 3rd.
3rd?
And we did this exercise yesterday, Pat, when you were out, and I was interested in it with you. The Braves were listed as number 1. Astros listed as number 2. Phillies number 3. Seattle 4. Dodgers 5. And one of the things is that that there is a problem with the Dodgers There's concern about the workload on some of their pitchers, and that things sort of tend to fall apart for the Dodgers as far as arms, disabled list trips, or what do they call it, injured list now, IL. Yep. Dodgers 5th, Phillies 3rd. And yesterday, Pat, we did the exercise. I think the Phillies rotation is as good as the Braves. Like, I really do. And if they were to add to that, I think it's clearly better.
It's bigger names. I mean, the Braves always have, as I said earlier, a couple guys there that just come out of nowhere. You're expecting some of those guys to possibly take a next step. They were injured last year. You could absolutely make the case of the Phillies. The Phillies rotation has more pedigree than the Braves. They have the bigger names.
Is that what matters? I mean, isn't it like sort of like as far
maybe in
as
something like this it does, like this random, ranking in February of rotations. Yeah, I think people clamor to big names.
We did it yesterday, and I'll be interested in your opinion because we didn't get to talk about it with you. Strider and Wheeler.
Yep.
You think it's a wash? Pretty much?
Pretty close. Yeah.
Pretty much a wash.
Yeah.
Fried and Nola.
I go Fried.
You go Fried. Now, Bob said Fried by an edge.
Yeah.
As Charlie Morton and Ranger Suarez.
I go Ranger, but that's close.
It's close.
I mean, one's significantly younger.
Chris Sale as a 4th starter, if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, Chris Sale.
Chris Sale's nice.
Yeah, Chris Sale's really good.
It's nice. And then they're going to throw it at one of their young pitchers. They're going to throw it at some young pitchers. Sometimes, because of their offensive support, makes it easy.
Well, they still have Elder, right? Is he still there?
As Elder's going to be projected, he's in a competition for the 5th starter.
Yeah.
And he's a 5 ERA pitcher. I mean, he's.
Well, that's what you're getting out of a 5.
He might end up being good. Sanchez wasn't last year though. Wasn't he like a 3.5?
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, he was. I thought he looked a little. Let's put it this way, a little bit better than that. If the Phillies add to this rotation, I'm absolutely thinking that the Phillies rotation is better. He had a 3.44 last year as a 5th starter, Christopher Sanchez. I mean, that's an impressive thing with 18 games started.
Is that what he started? 18?
Not a small sample size, and a 3.44. But the Phillies being up there in the top 3 did shock me because I thought Dodgers was going to be what everybody would go, oh, well, it's got to be the Dodgers. They have to be the best. Now, the Dodgers lineup is stupid.
Yeah, they'll get a good pitcher back next year in Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, you see, I don't like that part of it. I said, that's why I'm glad we're talking about this year.
Yeah, right.
Right now, because it's not. But, I mean, is a Walker Buehler going to be healthy? I like Tyler Glass now. Bobby Miller.
Bobby Miller's good.
James Paxton.
James Paxton does nothing for me. But
Yamamoto obviously is expected to be.
Buehler coming back healthy. That'll be big.
I don't know what Yamamoto is, and nobody does at the major league level.
I'll tell you, I'd trade rotations with them.
You would trade? You would take theirs?
Yeah, absolutely.
You take just on the potential of it?
Yeah, I mean, you do have some injury risk there with Glass now, and Buehler's coming back from Tommy John surgery. But yeah, I'm trading that.
So you would make that trade, Bobby?
I mean, Bobby Miller's young.
Bobie Miller is young.
He was one of their top prospects.
Bobby Miller's a nice pitcher. I mean, like there's no doubt about it. He didn't have a better deal last year than Christopher Sanchez. Like Christopher Sanchez had a quarter better ERA and almost the same amount of starts, which is just strange. I mean,
what are you talking? 344 to what?
377.
Oh, is that?
No, but I mean it's same amount of starts pretty much. And, I mean, he's a nice pitcher, but if you think Miller's got potential, I guess he's got nice stuff. I don't know. Paxton does nothing for me.
No, Paxton I think's cooked.
That doesn't do anything for me. I mean, it's the Dodger lineup is so stupid that it just makes everybody else, I think, appear to be just
playing for second place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's weird, Pat, when you said it earlier today, like I'm not even going to be watching the Dodgers. I'm just going to try to ignore what the Dodgers do this year.
Yeah, it's going to be easy because they're on the West Coast.
Because all I want to do is just say, beat the Braves. Beat the Braves, win the East, and then have a different path come playoff time, from postseason time. Have a different path to it because I can't worry about the Dodgers in May and June. But maybe at the trade deadline, you do something that addresses trying to maybe trim that gap in a short a short series. And the Dodgers, you could say, as much as the Braves choke in postseason, the Dodgers choke in postseason.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they do.
They lose to inferior clubs all the time with better clubs. And
Well, look at who your last two World Series participants were for the National League.
the 6th seed both years.
Yeah. So, the bigger ones do fall every once in a while.
The only years that there's been a 6th seed, there's been 6 teams, that the 6th seed has gone to the World Series and been the National League champion. Whether there's, and it makes me think, is there something to that week off? Is there something to playing 162? And if you win a division, a lot of times you'll win it with 4 or 5 games to go or 10 games to go.
Yeah, so
And
you're
then
winding down
You're
then
winding
anyway.
down then, and then you sit out a week. We saw it. The Braves' bats didn't look the same. Dodgers, same thing, getting ambushed. So it's one of those. It's just going to be. It'll be fun to watch how this all comes down for the Phillies.
Baseball is always that bizarre sport. Like most of the time, I feel like with basketball and hockey and football, you're able to kind of sit there and go like, all right, these are the premier teams in the league. You can pencil them in.
A little more chalky.
And then baseball is just that bizarre sport where you'll have a team like the Mets last year that, every analyst is picking as a World Series contender, and then they just, they turn into the Mets, which is awesome. But that happens every year where there's some team that just they're favorited, and for whatever reason they get off to a slow start, they can't get out of it. They end up faltering down the stretch, and next thing you know, they're selling at the deadline. And I don't think that's going to happen with the Braves, but my point is you never know with baseball. The problem with the Braves is their minor league system is so loaded that if they do suffer an injury to pretty much anybody, they've got some dude that's coming in that's just a stud right behind them. So it's not a situation where you can even count on injuries to take them out of it, because I think they have enough there in their system. I mean, they're such a well-run organization that they've planned for this. Their depth is crazy good.
I want to ask everybody, and we're going to play a little game with the boys when we return. The idea of how many Eagles are locks to be on this year's roster from last year's team and what's currently on their depth chart. I think the number may surprise you. John Kincade Show on the Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sixers up in
Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
On our earlier discussion about Hassan Reddick, Tommy Reardon, and hello, Tom, checks in. He says, is it possible that the Hassan Reddick decision is Vic Fangio's? Because listed as a linebacker, but he's truly a defensive end. What if Vic wants outside linebackers who can drop in coverage, set the edge, and rush the passer? Could that be any idea? Do you think that he'd have that clout coming in? Because even when Andrew Checo was with us, who will join us from the Combine on Thursday, he said Jeffrey Lurie is going to make sure that Vic Fangio has everything that he needs. It sort of seemed like it was some of the readings that it was a big Vic Fangio was a big Jeffrey Lurie hire.
Well, it'd be malpractice if you're in the position you're in now and you don't go to your new defensive coordinator and say, hey, how big of a part would Hassan Reddick play in your defense? I mean, that would be malpractice if you didn't do that. Because if Fangio comes back and says,
why are you paying him?
Yeah, I don't use edge rushers the way that he gets his money. Well, then Howie Roseman probably says, okay, well, there's some money that we're saving there. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be communication all the time between everybody.
Then Jason asked, does Reddick's age come into play with an extension? Because what about a 2-year extension with more guaranteed money over his salary year, which would extend him out to he'd play at 30, 31, 32? I think the Eagles could get that. I think they do it. I don't think he wants that. I don't think he'd want to go that short. I mean, Pat, what would you think? You were saying Bob said 3 years?
I would expect 3 years. Yeah.
Added to the one he already has.
Yeah.
So then that takes him through year 33. I would think that's what he's looking for. I don't, as Jason's saying there, I don't think he's looking for that short an extension. I don't
well,
think
it's better than nothing.
Well, it depends on what. Yeah, but if his market
Unless
is going to.
he goes free agent at 30 and he thinks he's going to do better there.
Right.
Okay.
And two, as far as this game of chicken, Pat, part of the game of chicken, too, and that's the last thing that Steven asked. He goes, because the Eagles can play chicken. The Eagles have him under contract. He's not going to sit out. He's not going to be a malcontent and not play.
You don't think he will?
Because he's going to want to get it. Because he's going to want to get another contract.
Yeah, I mean maybe. I don't think he's a professional. I don't think he's that guy. Yeah, I don't think he's a jerk. He proved that last year. Like he addressed the contract at the beginning of the year. He said all the right things. Yeah, of course I want to get a new contract done, but I'm not going to bring it up through you guys. And he's also said the right things after this story came out of like he doesn't want to get traded and he wants to come back. I really
money's
hope,
just got to be good.
Yeah, I hope that you're right. I hope we're all laughing about this in a couple weeks.
I want to play a little game with you here. Tell me of the Eagles starters, how many are back? Okay, so obviously I'm going to take some easy ones off the board. Hurts and Brown and Smith. Easy, correct?
Yeah.
That's easy. Dallas Goedert.
Back.
Mailata, Dickerson, Juergens, Johnson.
Yep.
So the only question marks being Kelce, who is one that we'd ask about, DeAndre Swift, who I think people believe can sort of be easily replaced, and the third wide receiver in most situations. So you're talking about 3 guys on offense.
Yeah.
Because we don't know about Kelce. And Kelce may be coming back.
Yeah,
we
maybe.
have no clue. So the offensive side looks pretty set. And then when you're talking about some of the guys that are behind them, that looks like they're pretty good. But on the defensive side of the ball, how many guys are coming back? If I gave you Davis, Sweat, guaranteed Carter, Davis, Sweat, and Carter, then Graham's not a guarantee. He looks it though, because he wants 1 year left.
Yeah, he looks it because we all know that if he's playing football in the NFL, he's playing football for the Eagles.
Graham, Cox, all the linebacking core. I'm looking at the linebacking core. They're all gone, right? I mean, if you're not talking about a guy, Nakobe Dean, who didn't really play, Zach Cunningham.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, he's not going to be there. He's not in that
You'll
mix.
have Sean Bradley back, but that's
Sean Bradley
that's
be
for
back.
special teams.
Nick Morrow's gone, right?
I don't know if Sean Bradley is back. I would think so.
Special
Yeah,
teams captain.
I would think so because of the fact that he's not going to cost you a lot. He's a local guy
coming off of injury.
Yeah, but I'm not ready to just say he's back.
Nick Morrow, Shaq Leonard. I think they're all gone. Like I think the linebacking room is relatively empty.
Yep.
Do you think Bradbury and Slay are back?
No.
I think they are.
So you think they're both back?
I think they're both back.
Do you think Avonte Maddox is back?
I do.
Wow, you're not making many wholesale changes.
It's not like I don't want.
No, I understand what you're
But
saying. It's what you think. It's what you believe.
I think Vic Fangio will look to see if he can get those guys back on the right track.
That's interesting. I wonder when Vic Fangio's coming in, how many of these guys truly fit what he wants? That is an old defensive backfield for a Vic Fangio defense.
I'm only keeping one of them, so.
I'm only keeping one also.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bite some dead cap money off to be able to do that. Considering last year, like the Rams, the Packers, the Colts, like the teams that had the biggest dead cap money still all made the playoffs. And they still managed to somehow work around it. But at safety, buddy coming back? Anybody that we know Blankenship's back.
Yeah, I mean,
but I mean, is anybody? Sidney Brown's gonna be out.
yeah, but he's back. Yeah,
but he's out.
Right, yeah.
Like he's not counting till Thanksgiving,
no,
probably
no.
at the earliest. I mean, it really is strange. Is Zach McPherson back?
Probably.
I
as
think
a special
so. I think so
teamer?
as special teamers, yeah. But once that's not a given, I wouldn't be shocked. Can you find another Zach McPherson? Yeah, you can.
Ringo and Ricks are back.
Like I think
Yeah.
ideally, real quick to get back to McPherson and Bradley, it's
Right.
like, yeah, they add something on special teams, but if thrust into a starting role, do they add something there? McPherson, I don't think so. So that means like, all right, well, can you find another special teamer? You can probably find that in the draft.
I would say McPherson more so though than Bradley.
I think
Not
I think
that
Bradley, because he
really
plays
matters.
linebacker, has a better chance of being back than McPherson.
Okay, that makes sense. I just am looking at it as this defense is a lot less than I think it is. It's not. I mean, this is. I'm
Oh,
not.
I don't think I can think any less of them. I don't mean that in a mean way.
No,
but
but
look,
I know where you're at. Yeah, I know
They
where
were.
you're at.
The word I used going into last year was they are suspect at many positions. Now the whole unit is pretty much suspect because nobody stepped up and played to what we thought was their, for lack of a better term, potential last year. Nobody. And that was horrible at the end of last year. Like, your last memory of that Eagles defense was
Terrible.
Baker Mayfield just shredding them. Like, shredding them without any kind of resilience at all. Shredding them. Over almost 200 yards in the first half, which I jokingly have kind of predicted, and boom, he does it. Like, that's how bad they were. So, yeah, they're bad, and they have a lot of holes to fill. A lot of holes.
I mean, I'm very unenthused about. I need to see. I can't wait to hear the answers today that Howie and Nick. Some of the answers they share about at least maybe some hints about what they're looking at and what they feel is the biggest priority to check at.
Well, I mean, aren't those questions already answered? Do you need to hear Howie Roseman say, yeah, well, we have to look at safeties because we have two older ones. We have to look at.
I want to hear. I want to hear corners though,
because we only have one starter right now. We'll look to upgrade safeties, linebackers. Everything on the defense needs to be upgraded.
I want to hear him say corners though as a priority, because then that tells me they will move on from.
Well, he's not going to say that because you have two under contract, so you're not going to say that until you get. You're not going to. He's not going to say that. No, he's going to go where the openings are. Well, we need a safety. We need linebackers. We probably need some depth on the defensive line, but he's not going to address a situation where somebody's already there.
9 a.m. hours brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. For details, go to Bagster.com. Terrell joins us. Terrell, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. How is everybody?
Doing all right, buddy. What's going on today?
So I was talking to my buddy. My buddy lives in in the D.C. area, actually.
Okay.
But he's like you. He's from Georgia.
Okay.
And he was talking. I got a little embarrassed because he was talking about. I don't know his name. I'm not too hip to him. But the head coach
Dan Quinn.
Yeah, he doesn't have any power over there. They're giving all the power to the Cliff Kingsbury, and he announced that he's not calling plays over there. Got a little embarrassed because we're doing the same thing over here, and I don't want to be following in the footsteps of anything in Washington.
No, Dan Quinn but the thing is though, Dan Quinn's I guarantee you this, Dan Quinn, whoever's his defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn's calling his defense. Dan Quinn's a defensive coordinator. Yeah, and you want him I can tell you, knowing him very, very well, you want him as far away from the offense as you can find him. It's not like Nick Sirianni, who was supposed to be quarterbacks, wide receiver, understanding offense, tabbed as an offensive guru who can't understand how to fix that side of the ball. The Commanders are going to run Dan Quinn's defense at Dan Quinn's command, and that's the big difference.
You know what another fear of mine is? Like, is Kellen Moore a leader of men? Like, what's gonna be a plan B if things get got out of control in the locker room, and they go and doing it? I'm not worried about the defense.
Well, 5 years.
We got a leader in our defensive coordinator.
5 years he's had 5 years in the NFL as an offensive coordinator. I believe he's averaged being a top 6 offense. So I'm not worried about him.
But his last year has always been the bad year though, also too, right?
His bad year? I don't know about that.
I'm saying that his last year has always been, the year he got fired. Every year his last year didn't go as smoothly.
Yeah,
I'm just worried about when things don't go smoothly his way. Injuries can happen to any team. Leadership. Who knows what happens? But is he a leader of men? That's what I'm worried about.
All right, buddy. I'm not. I've never heard anybody questioning that on them. And I don't remember his last year. The only reason is Mike McCarthy saved his job by saying, I'm going to take over the offense with Dallas. I don't remember it being like a bad year for the Dallas offense, in fact, in 2022.
They were 4th in points scored.
I mean, that's not a bad year. I mean,
no.
He didn't have
had
a
a year
bad year.
that they were 17th in points scored. Last year they were 21st in points scored with Kellen Moore. So I'm not as I'm on the we'll see with him type of thing. I'm not putting him over the top of like one of the best coordinators in the league. We'll see. We'll see where it is.
Yeah, when he's had a competent offensive line, his offenses have been really, really good. I mean, and then he goes to Los Angeles, where they didn't have it, and they have a quarterback who's reckless with the football. That's where we don't need Jalen Hurts to follow up this year's performance with another one where he's slinging the ball to the other team, which was something that I really don't expect that. It's something that I just do not expect to happen. I do not expect Jalen Hurts to have another year like that. I can't see him being. That's one thing that I would almost. I'll put in Sharpie. I like my Sharpies. I'll put it in Sharpie that he won't be as reckless with the football.
Well, Herbert only had 7 interceptions last year, so you're hoping that maybe there's something there, a relationship between him and Kellen Moore, the quarterback that you don't. I don't know. This year made me so I just don't know about Jalen Hurts. Is he more towards 2022 or this year? It's probably somewhere in between. Is in between good enough? We'll see. To me, the book is still out.
I asked Bob to give me a little betting advice. I had my Bet Parks app out, and I looked, and I saw 12.5 points with the Sixers tonight in Boston. I'm thinking, wow, 12.5, that could be tasty. And Bob was like, tread carefully.
Yeah, now, look, I don't know if Boston's going to go into tonight and say, down Sixers team, maybe somebody gets a rest here, or, they're overlooking the Sixers, so therefore it's a closer game than need be. But like I said, with the identity that the Sixers don't have right now, I can't say. And Boston loves to beat up on Philadelphia. The fans love it. The players love it. I'm real hesitant to take those 12.5. I don't think this is going to be a good night for the Sixers. I think it's going to be. This is real close.
Would you lay the points?
No.
Or I don't lay. I don't like laying.
All.
I don't like laying double-digit points ever anyway, and I don't like betting against my team because then that sucks. That sucks. Just out of. I can't watch and root against the team I want to see win.
I did a same game parlay for the Bucks game, and it wasn't anything egregious. And the thing that I lost on was I had the Sixers. I moved the line to like 13.5.
Oh no!
And I lost there. Now, luckily, I got a bonus bet back for it. But yeah, it's like even when I moved the line, this team just isn't it seems like when they're facing the Bostons, the Milwaukees, the upper echelon teams, it's like they're struggling. And you're gonna have to pick and choose which games you think you can really take advantage of and which ones you can't. I don't think tonight's one of those nights.
It's like I said before. Like, what are you relying on? What are you putting your hands around and saying, okay, we have to ride this in order to try to beat the Celtics? Outside shooting? Well, Boston has good perimeter defenders, and that's all you really have offensively because you have no inside game. Defense? Sixers aren't very good at defense at all, and with the starters that they have in there now, there's nobody out there that's going to stop a Jason Tatum and probably a Brown. Rebounding, defense, none of those things are anything that I'm confident that can get you a win. You're not going to outscore the Celtics. Like, if you're going to play a shootout game, they shoot threes, we shoot threes. If you're the Sixers speaking, no, you're not going to win that way either. So what do you ride to try to beat the Celtics?
Take yourself back to the day that Joel Embiid got injured. To the night that he, goes up the ramp and then comes back down. They put him on the court, play him 30 minutes, and then he's out. Do you like this roster a hell of a lot less? Now, some of the names have changed. Some of the names have changed since that day.
Night?
Yes. Have guys on this roster shown you, I maybe thought they were a little more than what they really are?
Well, it's hard because you needed more, way more out of DeAnthony Melton. He's been hurt. Nick Batum seemed to be a good glue piece with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's now out, and he's been hurt. And I don't think Nick Batum is near the player he is when Joel Embiid's on the floor. I bring this up all the time. Mark Smart saying to me that it's so easy to play with Joel Embiid on the floor. Tobias Harris isn't the same player without Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey isn't the same player as Joel Embiid. You can look at the players they have and didn't have then, but Tyrese Maxey you have now, he's not the player he was when Joel Embiid was on the floor. Nobody's as good as they were on this Sixers team without Joel Embiid. And that's, and then you look at a Buddy Hield. I think Buddy Hield could be a lot better if Joel Embiid was on the floor.
I think everybody is better with Joel Embiid. It's like, right. And that's not really breaking news analysis.
That's pretty good analysis on your part.
You take some of the best players in the league, and they're going to make your other players better.
Let me ask you this, though. Take Tatum off of Boston for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Take
Giannis?
Take Giannis off the Bucks for 2 months.
Jokic.
Do you think they collapse like this?
I think Boston's deep.
Boston, no.
I think Boston's really deep.
I just think that's an organization as a whole. That's an organization that knows how to play basketball and knows how to teach basketball. And Jaden Springer came out and said, like something to that effect of, yeah, you come here, you're playing ball. Like, you know how you're playing ball. And I go back to, like I told you back in the day, where they teach basketball. And you'll see it tonight. You'll see backdoors. You'll see smart rotations defensively. There's very little time over these past few years that they just hurt themselves.
And that's
Boston.
with a new coach following up the scandal. Missoula, coming in. So they just plug in coaches, and it's the organizational philosophy then that the coach teaches?
They got a Boston Celtic guy in Brad Stevens, and he did it as a coach. And then, they see, all right, your front office potential. You want to do that if you're tired of coaching? Okay, this is our way. This is how we do it. And it's just been a carryover. It really has been. And as much as I hate it, because I've hated the Celtics since I was 2 years old, you can't deny it. They play good, fundamental winning basketball. It's not always going to lead to championships. People say, when was, last time they won. I hear you on that, but they're always going to be there.
They're always in. Yeah, it's like the Eagles before they won a Super Bowl. Like, they're always in the conversation. They're a well-run organization. They know how to draft. They know how to develop. Yeah, okay, they didn't have a Super Bowl, but they were always there. They were always present. With them, though, I think if you take Jason Tatum off the Celtics, while they don't collapse, they're not exactly having the success they do. I mean, you saw what happened when Denver lost Jamal Murray. They didn't lose Jokic. They lost Jamal Murray, and they were cooked. They were
It was
done.
huge.
Yeah, so I just think this is a natural thing in basketball. You lose your best player, and he's one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world. You're going to find yourself in a situation. Not a lot of teams have depth where you can just replace that, and I don't blame the Sixers for not having that depth. I mean, you could make the argument they tried, right? Because they signed Paul Reed to that 3-year extension, so they tried to at least have a layer over there. I mean, they traded Marcus Morris, but they brought in some depth there. I think they might still be trying to get a big man on the buyout market. I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying. They tried, but not a lot of teams can deal with what the Sixers are dealing with, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the natural situation of basketball.
Well, because think about it. If you went to any other sport and said, I'm taking away 20% of your best players, that's the equivalent of losing Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what it is.
I mean, in baseball, right? If you lose an Aaron Nola for 2 months, you can survive. We saw the Phillies survive without Bryce Harper because there's just so many more players involved. In basketball, it's 5 guys. You're playing 40 minutes. Your best player is going to be out there in crunch time. You usually can't get over this. And I wouldn't expect the Bulls, if Michael Jordan was out, to all of a sudden, be okay without Michael Jordan. It's Joel Embiid is. You could make the case he's the best player in the world. If not, he's top 3, and he's unfortunately injured. It sucks.
Sixers tonight versus the Celtics. You'll hear it here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Do you have any confidence in the Sixers tonight?
No. But I keep waiting for pride. They've been blown out so much. I keep waiting for more of what we've seen when we saw them against Cleveland, to be more like. I didn't sense a ton of a prideful effort on Sunday.
Yeah.
Neither did Hubie Brown.
No, but Cleveland was missing their best player, so it evened the playing field. The playing field isn't even tonight.
Yeah.
And you can be as prideful and play as hard as you want. We know in the NBA, if your talent isn't measuring up, and yeah, it's a big thing to me. Like, here's what worries me about tonight a little bit, John. I anticipate they're going to get semi-blown out, if not fully blown out. How bad is this going to get? Like, at some point, because right now it's still in the phase of, it's without Embiid, and they're trying to figure things out. It's starting to drift towards, maybe more than, it's starting just, Buddy Hield's not that good. It's starting to drift towards, Tyrese Maxey can't get 50 for you every night. Teams are going to start, it's starting to drift towards, wow, Tobias Harris is nothing anymore. All of those, and it's going to grow, and it's going to grow, and it's going to grow. And unless you get yourself to the position of saying, look, this is probably a play-in team, you just got to hope Embiid comes back if you want to make a shove, well, then this is going to start to bubble pretty good.
Sixers action tonight on the Fanatic versus the Celtics. Flyers will be over on MMR. And Pat, quickly, yesterday just talked about it. Would you change philosophy a little bit and go for a veteran backup goalie if it was available?
Depends on the price, but probably not. Probably not.
So you're just going. You got to take what's your shots.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a veteran goalie out there that's going to be had
on
for
an
a
expiring
6-round
contract,
pick,
yeah, exactly.
then sure, 6-round pick, have at it. But I don't think so, because normally goalies at the trade deadline are going for a lot because the teams that are trading for them are contenders, and that's a position you need to have in the playoffs. So my assumption would be that the goalies that you'd probably want are too expensive, and the goalies that you probably could afford are too crappy that you might as well stick with Urson.
And I don't even want to hint. I don't want to smell. I don't want a sliver of buying from the Flyers. No,
wow.
I don't want it.
Peterson was so terrible on Sunday. And you can't do that to an NHL team. You can't do that to a professional team.
Well, they're only going to do it for 3-4 more games.
But you can't do that with that guys in the locker room don't care what we think about pushing for the playoffs. They're pushing for it, and Torts let it out of the bag last week. We can't afford to not get 2 points against Chicago.
He's right though.
They can't put Peterson in net for a bunch of guys that are making a playoff push. They got to do something better.
Well,
and
look,
Sandstrom's not the answer.
A lot of teams don't have good backups. That's why they're backups. So I want to put too much stock into that. You can't have a guy go back to back now in the new NHL. They just don't do it.
Well, you're starting your backup.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're
Oh
starting.
my gosh! You
It
can't
just-
play back to back. His arms will fall
They
off.
don't do it, man. It's like
His
you gotta,
pads will just like
That's
weigh
every
him
team
down.
now. I don't blame him on that.
So-
That's a lot, but especially with Ursan. Ursan, I'd have to look at the numbers, and I did last week. But his workload, he's basically like reached it at
He
this
has
point.
reached it. Yes.
Next month, he's gonna, it's gonna be way up there. So I think you want to kind of preserve him. But that's the mindset you'd want from your team is we're gonna make the playoffs. And I go back to the process era Sixers. The process era Sixers were built to lose. The players didn't want to lose.
Right.
They just weren't talented enough. They went out there to try to win. They just weren't good. This Flyers team, though, they've got a little talent. Of course, they're going to push for the playoffs. They want. Of course, why wouldn't they want to make it?
The Phillies cannot afford to lose this guy. And no, it's not Bryce Harper. John Kincade Show on the Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
think the Phillies have a pretty complete roster. I do. I love the optimism around the 2024 Phillies. But if I put the question to you, who's the one guy, like if you were talking about like a 2-month Embiid type injury, a lot of people would probably say, well, you can't lose Bryce Harper, but the Phillies have proven the last 2 years they survived it. They could. They could lose Harper for 2 months, 10 weeks, and still manage to be a postseason team and still make a great run. There is one guy I think cannot get hurt. And I think it's something that potentially could sink the Phillies if it happened. And that's JT Realmuto.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that because I know your fondness for Garrett Stubbs isn't very high.
Stubbs as my team mascot? Yeah, I mean, that's fine. The backup catcher, it is a deficiency in this Phillies roster that could sink them. That could hurt them big time.
Yeah.
If you lost Realmuto for 8 to 10 weeks for something, you'd have to make a trade. I don't know that you've got somebody that you're waiting there in the wings that is competent enough. And it is surprising to me because I do think it's the only position where they are absolutely deficient at backup. At bat?
Yeah, if you go around, I mean, first base, you have an abundance guys there that you could probably do with what you have. If you lost Bryson Stott,
you'd probably be making Whit Merrifield, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Every day.
And then if Turner goes out, you could probably move Stott to short and put Whit at second.
Right.
Bohm at third's a decent one.
Merrifield's played it, but I don't think he's gonna.
Yeah,
I don't think you want him.
So you could probably do that. We know about the outfield that there's different things that you could do there.
Plus Sosa too. Sosa can play third.
Yeah,
I mean you don't want that for a long term, but I don't think he would kill you.
No, I when you asked the question without knowing your answer, A, I thought that was going to be your answer, but B, that's my answer also. Yeah, I think it is JT Realmuto.
Pat, are you surprised they didn't address?
Not really. I'm not surprised they didn't address it just based solely on price. Eventually, you need to, kind of pick and choose which position you want to invest a lot of money into. And I'm sure baseball probably looks at it like position groups and not necessarily players. So they might look at it like, well, we're paying JT Realmuto, whatever, I think $20 million or whatever it is. Garrett Stubbs is probably making $2 million. So they're probably looking at it like positionally, we're invested in this for $22 million, $23 million, whatever it is. He's really affordable. And I know it's not popular. But he's very well liked in that clubhouse. And I know it's not. Look, on the field, you're right. Because if JT Realmuto goes down, that's a big hole in your lineup. But to keep that guy around who has become, was he Nola's everyday catcher? He was somebody last year's everyday catcher. To keep that guy around who's going to be a happy-go-lucky, understands his role, isn't going to make waves, and just wants to make people laugh in the dog days of a season, I do think that's important. I've always liked Rafael Marchand, who's probably to start the season off at AAA, but the reality is, if they lose JT Realmuto, they're probably screwed. To that, though, I would say,
do you go? You'd have to trade. By the way,
might. I mean, it depends. It depends where you're at in the standings, but also look at the contenders in baseball, and if they lost their starting catcher, they'd probably be a similar spot. Because it's just a position where there's not a lot of crossover. For Bryce Harper, if you lost Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper can move to right field.
Yes.
And theoretically, you would think, maybe Bryce Harper can play catcher because he was drafted as a catcher and he was a catcher in college, but he's not going to play catcher. We all know that.
But this guy Stubbs is a quad A player.
He is, but he's got Hall of Fame personality. He's quad A talent, Hall of Fame personality.
Great DJ.
So, yeah, it sounds
great
so
DJ.
ridiculous.
He's Patrick Beverley.
And it's not, in a way, yes. I think Patrick Beverley is a better player than Garrett Stubbs, but in a way, I kind of go twofold. If you lose your catcher, you're in a tough spot no matter what. It's kind of like losing Chase Utley back in the day. And the Phillies went out and they got Tadahito Iguchi to kind of be a stopgap with that. But if you lose him for a couple months, initially I go like your lineup should be okay to get over that one loss.
But losing a catcher affects every member of the pitching staff.
It does, and that's
Whereas losing your third baseman, second baseman, it doesn't affect a large position group of your team.
So bringing in a new catcher, if you trade for one, though, that's going to affect it too, and it might not affect it in a good way. It might affect it in a great way, but it might affect it in a negative way.
Right.
Depending on who the catcher is, depending on what that is. Like, I just don't think that's a position that a lot of Major League Baseball teams have a lot of depth at. Now, the Braves obviously do because they get Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud.
Which is a hell of a
That's
combo.
one team that you look at, but I'm sure people would be hard-pressed to tell me who the backup catcher is of the Dodgers or the backup catcher is of the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, it's not a.
It's just not a position that,
It's not a 60-40 position.
Yeah, a lot of teams don't really prioritize it, and for kind of good reason. You find a good catcher, and they're kind of rare, so you stick with them.
I don't even know Austin Barnes that much. That's the backup catcher of the Dodgers.
The name sounds
Backup
familiar,
catcher of the Dodgers.
but
I barely knew Garrett Stubbs' name when you brought up the subject, so no, I don't know the Dodgers.
I mean, it's the
led the league in drag bunts. Bobby, come on.
I know.
There you go.
I don't think you do.
And he still hit 204.
He
didn't have drag
he did.
bunts. He'd be at
If he didn't have
160.
drag,
You know, like for me, like Garrett Stubbs, I don't really care what he gives you in terms of the plate, as long as he is that high energy guy in the locker room. But more importantly, as long as he's getting Aaron Nola back in check or whoever he's catching that day, if they have a good game, then I'm cool with your 200 average. If you can catch a good game and you can frame well and all that, like
he caught a bunch
I'm
of
fine with
different
it.
guys last year, by the way.
Okay.
In his starts, he did. He caught.
There was
He
somebody,
caught Suarez. He caught.
I thought there was somebody that like every single
I
time.
think
years
that was
ago, I
more the
thought it
year
was. Was it
before,
Nola?
because last year he caught Nola, he caught Suarez, he caught. Gosh, I'm trying to
Kurt
get
Schilling.
down.
Nelson Figueroa.
He
The
did
other
not
start
count
Myers.
him. No, he did not.
Just
in
throwing
any
names
way
out.
do that.
Robert
there,
Person?
I don't know. Strom.
Randy Lersch.
Strom in a start.
Yeah, he was kind of the
He
guy.
bounced
and,
around.
And I definitely don't want a situation where JT Realmuto has to go out there and lead the league in innings for the fourth straight year. That to me is insane. I'd love to see JT
And don't-
Realmuto play more first base this year.
And don't you have to because of the fact that Stubbs is your backup?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Because they don't want to go to him.
I don't think that you do. Like, I keep going back to their lineup of, like, let's say hypothetically you want to get JT a break, but JT doesn't want to come out. Okay, fine. DH.
Right.
DH for the day. We'll put Schwarber in left. We can deal with that. But
Let-
DH
give
for the
Marsh
day.
a day off.
Or you put him at first base and Bryce Harper DHs. Like, there's flexibility there, but Rob Thompson doesn't use it. And your lineup should be good enough where a lineup of all those guys that we are household names at this point, the Real Mutos and the Trey Turners, Castellanos, Schwarber, Harper, like that should be good enough where you're able to survive a bad backup catcher's bat. I don't think there should be a lot of games where you're coming out going, man, if Garrett Stubbs could hit. Now, there might be a situation here and there, but when you're actually able to take a step back, you go, yeah, but this guy didn't hit either. And this guy had, a guy on second and third, and he didn't get him over. Like, whatever. I don't think you're going to be done in by a Garrett Stubbs. But for whatever reason, John, you're right. He doesn't like going to him a ton.
I think we know why. You can look at the numbers. I think you know why.
I mean, what's the staff? And I have to look it up on Baseball Reference, and I can do it now. But what's the staff ERA when he's behind the dish?
Because that is important. That is a big part of it.
It'll keep guys employed.
Seven
in baseball.
catchers caught more games last year than JT Realmuto, and many of them much younger.
Well, and it was the year before, and the year before that. Like I like Rob Thompson, and I like what he's brought, and I will bitch and moan about Kyle Schwarber hitting leadoff and quick hooks with guys, but for the most part, I really, really do like what he's brought to the table.
He was number 2 in 2022 in games caught. He was number 7 last year.
Did he miss time in 2022?
And he was number 2.
He
He was at 139 games.
Like if there's one big thing I wish that if I would talk to Rob Thompson about, other than the leadoff thing, it'd be like, JT's getting up there in age, man. Can we just give him? I'm not even looking for a traditional day off, but have him DH or have him play first base, which is probably the one area I thought that Girardi actually did better than Thompson at. He would get JT Realmuto some days off. He would pencil him out of the lineup. He would put him back in, but he put him back in at first base. Like, he was trying to get this guy rest, whereas I don't want to be sitting there in September and October and this guy's, he's struggling at the plate because his knees are shot.
Yeah,
Yes.
Real Muto led the league in games last year by far.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, he
unbelievable.
started 130 games. Next catcher was 114.
in the National League. Yeah,
No,
because
all of baseball.
Adley Rutschman caught 154 last year, I believe.
Rutschman came up late, if you recall. He caught 100. He started 104 games. He caught 110. Rutschman, I don't think, came up until a couple weeks into the season, if I'm not
No,
mistaken.
I thought it was 154 last year I had seen with him.
If only there was a website we
Yeah,
could go
there was
to.
only
I'm on
one.
it right now. I'm on 2023 Major League Baseball
You-
catchers.
you can't
Game
trust that.
started. Number 1, JT
That's too
Real
much.
Muto.
It's just way too much.
You can't
Yeah.
trust that, though, Bobby.
Yeah,
It's
you're
way-
right. You're right.
It's way too much.
I'm trying to erase it out of my mind, but it's not happening.
The
What's
no,
his face?
Rutschman was in 154 games last year.
Rutschman, number 10 at 25, 110 games, 104 games started.
How
at
many?
catcher.
Yeah, at catcher. How many?
At catcher,
How many
that's
was
what
DH?
we're
Yeah.
talking
Because he was he was getting 154 last year, and then I mean, it's too much, and I think not having a viable backup is part of the reason why you risk breaking the wheels off of Real Muto, and it's one that you don't want. It's one that you do not want to have a problem with.
So last year, I'm looking at it. So Garrett Stubbs' ERA was 4.26. The year before that, it was 4.28. Now, you have to keep in mind that he's probably not getting the premier guys, even though I said the Nola thing, but I'd have to really go
I
back
don't think
and look.
he catches. I don't think he catches
But-
Wheeler.
He's probably getting the back end, the Sanchez, the Walker guy. So, yeah, I don't think he does catch Wheeler. But can you improve upon that? Yeah, probably. It's hard for me to say you can't improve upon 4.26.
Yeah. It's just one of the things where you're talking about an embarrassment of riches with this roster. This is as good as I've felt about a Phillies roster in 15 years, as far as where they're sitting at. Love the rotation.
Yeah, for good reason. And
love the rotation. Love the depth. And I also think that enough guys bounced back last year that it's feeling good about it. You were talking about something 40 years ago with the Phillies, Pat, that they've been good in one
That was
department.
before you were born, Pat.
I didn't even know. You even knew the Phillies
How did you know this?
from the womb, from your a gleam in your dad's eye.
He was barely
You knew
a scratch
something?
in the pocket.
You said the Phillies have been shockingly good in one department.
Do you
I have.
remember?
You told us. Yes.
I have, yeah. No, I do. I'm looking up something, Bob, to make my case. If you could, please, thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
I mean,
It's rude of you.
It's
I don't
all right.
think it was. I was waiting for you to speak on a sports
I don't think
talk
you were.
radio show.
I don't think, Bob, some decorum. It's not your segment, it's
Wait
mine.
a minute,
Keep
Bob and
stalling, Pat. Go
Decorum.
ahead.
Come
I'll
on
keep
now.
talking if you want.
I
don't
am. I'm
care.
trying. So, can you guys guess it real quick? What it is? They've been really, really good at something, and it's for whatever reason everyone ignores it, but it's a fear that we have, and I probably have it more than
They've been
anybody.
really good at
They've been
something.
really good at something, and this fear dates back to 40 years ago. The fear dates back 40 years ago, but they have not been hurt by it, and it's something they're really, really good at. And for whatever reason, and once again, I probably more than anybody have this fear.
I'm going to guess. Identifying pitchers to give long-term deals to?
No.
Okay.
Bobby?
Can't be draft picks. Shortstop play.
It is trading prospects and not
Okay.
getting burned by it. We are so scared in this town of the 5-for-1
Absolutely.
trade of Ryan Sandberg. And I wasn't alive. You guys were right. I was not even a glimmer in my father's eye.
It was,
And yet-
It was Von
was
Hayes.
Von Hayes. Yeah, it wasn't Ryan Sandberg.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was Von Hayes was
Ryan
the
Sandberg
But the
came
Ryan Sandberg
over,
trade
went
was in, I believe, 84.
83.
and that was the Manny
Larry
Trio
Boa,
deal?
I'm wrong
Ivan
about
De
everything.
Jesus.
How many
Right.
was that, though?
How many was what?
The Ryan Sandberg trade.
It was Sandberg and somebody else. It was Sandberg
was-
and Boa, I believe,
Sandberg was a throw-in, I thought.
for De Jesus and maybe somebody else, like a Barry Foote. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, it was pretty even up trade. Well, it turned out not
The
to be very
5-for-1
even up,
was
but-
that whole Von
Von
Hayes.
Yeah,
thing.
I apologize.
But, I
So,
mean, everybody
got,
was
got my trades confused. But when looking at it, like, that is a trade that I came out of the womb in '89, and I had heard about the Ryan Sandberg. How do you let Ryan Sandberg go? You couldn't do that. And then, Fergie Jenkins, like 10 years before that was another trade. And since then, the Phillies have been great at it. And they've traded a ton of top-level prospects throughout the years, and they haven't gotten burned by it. They've never gotten burned by it. I mean, the entire 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11 run was nothing but the organization's top 100 prospects.
Trey Beck.
Yeah.
Who's
Michael
the other
Taylor,
pitcher? Who's the French?
no, I got you.
Jason Knapp,
Philippe Amont.
Well, Philippe Amont, they
Sixto
received.
Sanchez, who all of a sudden
And
became 12-0.
And that is what this conversation spurned on. Was
Oh, is
because
that
the
right?
picture that came out of Sixto becoming 12-0, fat Sixto. The fear that took place in this city of losing the next Pedro Martinez was so real that people didn't want to go out there and get JT Realmuto. And I'll put my hand up and say, like, I was worried about it at the time, but I was like, yeah, you got to make that deal. You have to go get JT Realmuto. It reminded me of, like, I was such a big Jonathan Singleton fan. He was the big piece of the Hunter Pence trade. I didn't want to trade Jonathan Singleton, but getting Hunter Pence was worth it. Jonathan Singleton goes out and becomes nothing. Like, he never amounted to much, just like most of these guys. And when you look at the Phillies' top 100 prospects from, the dating back till 2011, you've got Dominic Brown, John Singleton, Jared Cosart. I mean, all those guys traded amounted to nothing. Trevor May, Jesse Biddle, Brody Colvin in 2012 traded away, nothing. The next year, Jesse Biddle, Ethan Martin, Tommy Joseph, nothing. The list goes on. Every single time this organization has gone out there and traded top prospects, fans will sit there and go, oh, my God, I don't want to give up. And it's the fear of, we're giving up the next Ryan Sandberg. We're giving up the next Pedro Martinez. They don't get burned by it.
Well, that is impressive.
This is me talking. This is Patty Prospects who hates trading prospects. Every Phillies prospect I've ever seen is the greatest Phillies prospect in the world, and they're going to amount to a Hall of Famer. I hate trading prospects. But the reality is this organization has done a really good job at convincing other organizations that their crap is good.
I never thought of it this way, and I've gone on record with you, Pat, more so than John, because we've been around together just a little bit longer. But I've said to you, I'll always take a known quantity over prospects. And I guess it's because of what you're laying out right now.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way, but
I mean,
every time the Eagles, the Phillies give up a prospect, you rarely hear from them again.
J.P. Crawford's probably the biggest name guy that they've given up that amounted to something. He won a Gold Glove, but like he's a 250 hitter. He's not like anything to write home about. Yeah, look, his glove is great, and you knew that going in. But like, okay, fine, I'll live without J.P. Crawford. But the number one prospect in 2014 was Maikel Franco. And Jesse Biddle was number 2 in 2015. J.P. Crawford, Aaron Nola was number 2, and then Maikel Franco. Like, you just look at the prospect list, and I'm going from MLB.com, and J.P. Crawford, Jake Thompson, Nick Williams in 2016. They either traded for these guys and they amounted to nothing, or they traded some of these guys away and they never got burned. But for whatever reason, guys like me, who weren't even alive when it happened, have this fear of Ryan Sandberg and Fergie Jenkins again. You had it with Sixto Sanchez. He was the latest guy of like, we can't trade him. Yep. Can't trade him because he's the next Pedro. And he's finally getting on the mound again after 2 years. And he might be great, but there was always that injury history. That's one of the reasons why they traded him. So the next time we get to the trade deadline and I start saying you can't trade this guy, that could just remind me of this conversation because I'm an idiot. Thank you. Goodbye.
That's a good find on your part.
Remind you of the conversation. I can't even remember it already. That's a great point that you have.
That is a really good point. And it's one that I'm the same way, though, about trading prospects.
And I'm sure there's another guy in there that amounted to, like, something.
I don't think so.
But when I say amounted to, I mean, like, he probably served as an okay player, but never a superstar. I'm not looking at Jake Diekman as a superstar.
No.
And they traded him away in the Hamels deal, but for the most part, when they trade away, like, actual top-level prospects that the fans will go, oh, my God, I can't believe we're going to trade. They don't amount to anything.
Bob, you like to ask, what's wrong with me?
I don't. You
say that
do.
A lot. You ask me, what's wrong with me? But
I know what's wrong with you. I don't have to ask it. Why would you say that? I certainly don't have to ask it. I have plenty of opinions on that.
Well, what's wrong with me when it comes to sports? I mean, are you talking about yourself? Are you talking about all of us? What? I mean, as far as there's a.
Well, did you ever catch yourself in the moment of sports saying, what am I doing? What is wrong with me? Like, I had that at one point when I was a kid when my dad yelled at me for the umpteenth time for having the basketball in the bathtub.
You had a basketball in the bathtub.
And I wasn't in the bathtub because I used to play at these outdoor. I didn't have a really good basketball. It was kind of, shredded because I used it so much. So I would put it in the bathtub so it would get wet, and I'd spin around and then let it dry on its own. Then it would have like a little bit of grip to it.
Okay.
That would make it better. But, it was about the 20th time that my dad yelled at me, get the basketball out of the tub, that I thought, yeah, what am I doing here? Okay, so last night I kind of caught myself in a moment of, what are you doing here? And I'll tell you what it was. It was 6 o'clock. We're done dinner. We're sitting down. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go downstairs. I got to do something. And Don's like, what? And I said, no, I just got to do something. What are you doing? I want to watch a high school game on my phone.
So you were watching a high school game on your phone?
Was it the Catholic League Championship?
It wasn't, unfortunately.
Well, then
it was my old high school playing in a playoff game. But I was sitting in the dark with my phone downstairs by myself. And I really had a, what in the holy hell are you doing moment.
No, but the thing is, it's your high school, so you get a pass.
I guess.
You have a fondness for your school, fondness for the coaching staff, fondness for. No, I have no problem with that. Like, I don't think that's a weird moment. I thought you were leading this conversation somewhere differently. Like, I go to the random golf ball bin at PGA Tour Superstore, and I load a bag up of the random balls, but it takes me like 20 minutes to go through it because I want to find the certain brand, the ball that isn't scuffed up in the used balls, and then I have to take them home, and then I have to initial them all. So they're all initialed, so they're ready.
Why I don't raise the question, because I already know.
So when I'm ready to play golf, I already know. I don't have to pull out a Sharpie or anything. I already know that the balls are all marked, so I can find my ball. So I have to do it. And
so you're a ball marker.
Christina's like, you really are, like you're sitting there. I get the ball, and then I have to put them all. Put the JK logo on it. Just put it on there.
You have your own logo. It's not just initials. He's got a logo.
But the JK, no, it's with a marker, so I'm doing it with a Sharpie. But things like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with what you did. I think that shows great fondness for your alma mater.
Well, all right, let's just take all of that out of it, that I was sitting alone in a room at 6 o'clock at night watching a high school game on my phone.
It's a little strange. Strange.
Yeah, so I kind of had a, oh, my God, what am I doing moment. And it was exasperated by getting a text from my friend Tony and him saying, hey, you got a minute to talk. I didn't see his text for an hour and a half because I was watching a high school basketball game on my phone. I call him, hey, Tone, sorry for the delay. Yeah, what's up? Everything all right? I said, yeah, I was watching a high school game on my phone. Now, Tony's a former player at St. Joe's, Division I player, is a South Jersey kind of legend, so he understood my passion.
Right.
But Pat, honest to God, I had a moment of, oh, my God, what in the holy hell am I doing? Do you have that at all with sports at any time?
He has to. He's got to pay the slip of Jimmy Rollins.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Which I love, though. But I love that. I think that is a fantastic thing.
I get this question a lot. What is Egan like? And my answer is, no, I'm not kidding.
How much time you got?
My answer is, cool. He has Jimmy Rollins stats in his wallet at all times.
I don't think that's the definition of cool.
I do.
I absolutely have these things with sports. I used to have it more hardcore back when I was younger, and I talked about how I would have the jerseys of the players. If I had a pitcher jersey and they were pitching that day, I had to wear that jersey.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I
Wait, how old were you?
At 20,
that's
20
not
to
cool.
like
no,
18.
that's
yeah,
not
I didn't
cool.
say it was. I wasn't. I wasn't out here claiming to be Joe Cool. All right. I mean, but that was it. And probably like that to me sticks out the most. Is like, what am I doing? Like, I'm rearranging my entire wardrobe over a pitching rotations lineup and whatnot. That was bizarre. The Jimmy Rollins thing is probably a little bizarre, but I think when I explain it to people, they understand it. I think the weirdest thing that I'll do is if a player pops into my head, the rabbit hole that I'll go down. Like, it'll start with like a random player popping in my head, and they're like, who are they traded for? And then I'll try to figure it out. And then I'm going on Baseball Reference, and then I'm seeing what happened with that guy. Next thing you know, it's been like 35 minutes, and somehow, I'm on Wes Helms' baseball reference page somehow.
That's weird. Yeah.
That's
And
better than scrolling Instagram.
I did no. I
think
disagree.
you're learning something.
Wes Helms isn't.
Yeah, but
really,
it's at the time he's doing it.
yeah.
Like his wife is Pat.
Yeah,
come on
like
in.
she's
and he's
giving-
like, hold on, I got Wes Helms in my
yeah,
head.
she's giving labor, and I'm like, I got to look up what happened with the 2017 NHL draft because I got to see who was passed over and whatnot. So
Okay,
that's
so something
probably
gets in your head.
There's definitely been those moments where I'm like, I have a sickness,
Well,
and it's not healthy.
We will agree on that.
Far and wide.
Yeah.
We're not going to argue with you.
Yeah, I'm not looking for you guys to stick up for me on
we're
this.
not
I know
arguing on that
I
one.
know this
Our
is a proud moment.
silence says a lot.
Yeah,
It is incredible, though, in sports fans, we all have our...
Yeah, we all have like
our thing.
our ticks.
It's like I equate sports a lot to life. That's how I was taught, growing up by a coach. Like, your actions in sports and all, you related a lot to life. If you're going to be lazy in life, you're going to be lazy in sports. All of those, there were so many learning lessons. I do equate sports still at my age to life in a lot of ways. And I do find it fascinating. And last night it hit me again, like, what are you doing? Because most people that we talk to, sorry, John.
Yes.
And you were to say, what'd you do last night? Oh, yeah, I sat in my basement by myself and watched a high school game for an hour and a half on my phone. They're going to think that's kind of weird.
It's not any high school game. It was yours.
I don't know.
I would say this is that I feel sorry for people who don't follow sports. When I come across a guy who doesn't follow sports, who doesn't have passion for sports, who doesn't have passion for a team or anything like that, I actually feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
Because I know the joy that it brings, I know the lessons that it teaches, and I know the community that it lets you be a part of with people you don't even know.
Oh, I'd have no friends if it wasn't for sports.
Yeah, I don't understand it. When I meet, people will say, if someone doesn't like dogs, I don't trust them. You've heard that expression, like, oh, no. If I meet a guy who doesn't like, I don't follow sports. I don't trust them.
So listen to this real
Neither
quick.
do I.
So
There's no way Jeffrey Dahmer was breaking down the Packers game. It's just not.
I went to the Flyers game with Pat on Saturday, right?
So these guys went with each other.
Be quiet.
You were there and I
Be
was
quiet.
there.
So these guys were sitting next to me having a beer, and one of the guys like, hey, Bob. And I'm like, hey, what's up? Turns out to be Fran Dunphy's nephew, Brian. Anyway,
Excellent.
he's like, what's going on? Meet his friends and all. And he's like, you ever hang out with any guys from work? And I step back, and they're like, oh, my God, there he is. They were so excited to see Pat Egan.
See?
No,
Yeah, it was
I wouldn't
pretty
say
cool.
They were excited, and once again, we didn't go together. I happened to be in the same location that you happened to
That's
be
not
in.
true.
That's a
There was
different
many
story.
texts and phone
All right,
calls.
There
Be
were no
quiet.
texts and no phone calls.
Andrew Saltunis is going to entertain
bought
you
you a
next.
soda.
Support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, David Auto Group, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR, because cancer research saves lives, and I thank you for that 3 times over. So, Nick Sirianni talks at 1:30. Howie Roseman at 1:45. Andrew will be previewing that, and then the best show ever will be reacting to it. Don't miss it. Sixers tonight.